Accompanying my son on a blind date, I became the matchmaker instead. When Chu Xiao was 18, he crossed over to a parallel world and soon fell in love with his senior. After his senior gave birth to a son, she passed away. Chu Xiao, raising his child alone, struggled for over 10 years, eventually reaching the peak of his life. The only thing he couldn't let go of was his silly son's marriage. One day, Chu Xiao personally accompanied his son to a blind date. Do you own a house? My dad does. 10 luxury apartments in the city center, 5 villas in the suburbs, and countless wineries and castles abroad. Do you own a car? My dad does. A Rolls-Royce Phantom, Ferrari LaFerrari, Lamborghini SVJ, McLaren P1, Koenigsegg One, Bugatti Chiron, all limited editions. Do you have a job? My dad does. Over 300 companies under his name, 367 of which are listed on the Fortune 500. I can work wherever I want. So everything is from your dad? Why don't I just go on a blind date with your dad instead? Chapter 1. Why don't I just go on a blind date with your dad? Hangzhou City. Inside a Starbucks cafe, a man dressed in an elegant manner with a handsome, mature look was speaking to a young man in front of him. Chu Lin, let me tell you, the girl who's coming later is extremely impressive. When you go on the blind date, make sure to be polite and put away that spoiled playboy attitude. You can't embarrass the Chu family, and you absolutely need to win the girl's heart right away. The young man, Chu Lin, sighed helplessly. Dad, I'm not saying this, but I'm only 19, and you're already forcing me to go on a blind date. Don't you think you're a little too eager to have a grandchild? Can't we wait a couple of years? I'm not done having fun yet. If I find a wife now, what's left for me to enjoy in life? Seeing his son's uncooperative attitude, Chu Xiao glared at him, and the severe tone that comes with years of being at the top of his game immediately resurfaced. You still have the nerve to say that? If you were competent, you'd be managing my Xionglang group by now. Do I really need to do this? Go practice playing a secondary role instead. So what if you're 19? When I was 18, you were just a fertilized egg. You better behave well today. If this date doesn't go well, I'll freeze your bank card and see where you can go play. Chu Lin, fearless of almost everything, was only afraid that his dad would stop giving him money. There was nothing he could do under his father's roof, he had no choice but to lower his head. He quickly smiled and agreed, okay, Dad, I promise I won't mess up the blind date this time. Good. Chu Xiao glanced at his watch. She should be here soon. He got up and sat in a nearby seat, gracefully sipping his coffee. Outside the large glass windows, many young couples were walking arm in arm, happily chatting. This sight suddenly triggered some buried memories for him. When he was 18, Chu Xiao crossed over to this parallel world and became a college student. Not long after, during a class reunion, he had a one-night stand with the campus beauty, his senior. The two hit it off and planned to spend their lives happily together. But soon after, his senior fell ill, gave birth to their son, and passed away, leaving him to raise the child alone. Those were some of the darkest days of his life. But after navigating the ups and downs of the business world, now at the age of 37, he had become one of the wealthiest men in the world. He controlled 367 of the Fortune 500 companies under his name, and he was the largest shareholder in each of them, with absolute influence. His business acumen was unmatched. He was hailed as a genius, even by Bill Gates, Elon Musk, and Warren Buffett. At his current economic standing, if he wished, he could trigger a financial war and short the US dollar in a heartbeat. It could be said that his early life had been that of a prodigy, admired and revered by countless billionaires and entrepreneurs. Even time seemed to favor him, leaving no marks on him. He looked no older than 25 or 26. His skin was youthful and elastic, his hair thick and dark, and his physique was strong and healthy. Just as Chu Xiao was lost in his thoughts, a stunning young woman, resembling a star, walked into the cafe wearing a white long dress. The moment she entered, she captured almost every man's gaze. After all, she was beautiful and stood at 1.75 meters, a swan-like presence wherever she went. Lin 1111 was a financial prodigy from Qingbei University. Not only did she have an impressive academic background, but she was also the campus beauty. However, she was more of a homebody and had been pushed by her family to find a partner. Had it not been for her mother calling her 3 times to urge her, she would have never agreed to come for a blind date. As soon as Lin 1111 entered, she was immediately drawn to the handsome man sitting by the window. Originally reluctant about the blind date, she suddenly had a good feeling when she saw him, her interest piqued. "Hello, my name is Lin 1111. I'm introduced by Aunt Kui. Are you the one I'm meeting for the blind date?" Chu Xiao, who had been lost in his memories, snapped out of it. He was quite pleased with his son's date. He politely pointed to the side. "It's not me, it's him." Lin 1111 turned her head in confusion and immediately saw a youthful face. "Isn't he this just a kid," she thought, and the immature type at that. She instantly felt disappointed. Why wasn't he the handsome man she had imagined? But out of politeness, she suppressed her disappointment, smiled, and sat down. She was no longer interested in chatting, and just wanted to get it over with. So, she bluntly asked, "Do you have a house?" Chu Lin glanced at her and, though slightly impressed by Lin 1111's beauty, was mostly focused on his youthful freedom. He didn't want to think about settling down just yet. He answered casually, "My dad has 10 luxury apartments in the city center, 5 villas in the suburbs, and countless wineries and castles abroad." "Do you have a car?" "My dad has one Rolls-Royce Phantom, Ferrari LaFerrari, Lamborghini SVJ, McLaren P1, Koenigsegg One, Bugatti Chiron. Each is a limited edition." "Do you have a job?" "My dad has over 300 companies under his name, with 367 of them listed in the Fortune 500. I can work anywhere I want." After these 3 questions, Lin 1111 couldn't help but think this kid was just bragging. As expected, he wasn't reliable. Her eyebrows furrowed, and she responded coldly, "What do you mean everything is your dad's? Are you on the blind date, or is your dad? How about I just date your dad instead?" Lin 1111 was truly put off by him. He wasn't just immature, but also full of nonsense. If she had to marry a man like this, she'd rather stay single for life. But Chu Lin felt the same. Even though Lin 1111 was beautiful, she seemed too fierce. If he married her, he'd lose the carefree life he enjoyed now. There were plenty of pretty girls, so why give up a whole forest for just one tree? Not wanting to continue the date, but also afraid of angering his strict father, Chu Lin quickly thought of a solution. Just then, Chu Xiao returned from taking a call outside. Seeing his father's return, Chu Lin's eyes lit up with a mischievous glint. He leaned in and whispered, "Didn't you say you wanted to go on a blind date with my dad? Well, here he is. Isn't he right behind me?" Lin 1111, still skeptical, stared at him and replied in a disappointed tone, "Are you trying to fool me? You're on the date, and your dad is nearby watching. Stop with the tricks. If we're not interested in each other, let us just end it." As she started packing up to leave, Chu Lin quickly stopped her. "No, really, I'm not lying. Look behind you." He's about to walk in. "My name is Chu Lin, and my dad's name is Chu Xiao." Lin 1111, half believing him, turned around. When she saw who it was, her eyes widened in surprise. That's your dad." Chapter 2, Uncle, why don't you consider me?" She immediately flashed a radiant smile, her beautiful eyes sparkling as if stars were twinkling in them. This was such a pleasant surprise. She never expected it. The man she had been secretly admiring turned out to be the father of her blind date. Lin 1111's gloomy mood from earlier completely disappeared. She became bright and cheerful, her heart bubbling with happiness. As Chu Xiao walked over, he saw the girl's expression of sheer joy. At first, he was stunned, but then he quickly realized what had happened. When he entered the room, he overheard their conversation. That little brat was up to his usual tricks again. Without hesitation, Chu Xiao slapped his son's head lightly and scolded, "What are you talking about?" After the slap, he turned to Lin 1111 and spoke kindly, "Miss, don't listen to my son. He's just babbling nonsense. It's all a joke. Don't mind him. Please, continue your conversation." But at this moment, Lin 1111 was already completely captivated by the man in front of her. The more she looked at Chu Xiao, the more attractive he seemed, and the more she found him pleasing to the eye. She liked him. She was satisfied. She felt delighted. Unable to help herself, she smiled sweetly and called out, "Uncle. Why is it that when your son has a blind date, you're here accompanying him?" Chu Xiao realized that she already knew the truth, so he decided not to go back to his original seat. Instead, he pulled out a chair and sat down naturally with them. "The thing is," Chu Xiao said, speaking in a calm and steady voice, "I'm usually very busy with work and don't have much time to accompany him. His mother passed away early, and as a single father, I heard that he is looking for a partner, so I made some time to accompany him. After all, this is one of the most important things in life. Chu Lin is still young, and he doesn't have much experience. He might not be able to seize this opportunity properly. I'm worried that he might miss out on a good girl and a great marriage." He spoke in a composed and magnetic voice, and his words fell on Lin 1111's ears like a beautiful symphony. She listened intently, her eyes fixed on him. Then she learned that her ideal man, Chu Xiao, was still single and had never remarried. Lin 1111's eyes immediately brightened, her lips curling into a smile. Her face was filled with uncontainable excitement and joy. She secretly rejoiced in her heart, her little hands rubbing together under the table, eager to make a move. Her dream guy had no girlfriend. This was an incredible opportunity. A once-in-a-lifetime chance. She absolutely couldn't let it slip away. She had to seize the moment, or else this opportunity would be gone. Taking a deep breath, Lin 1111 tried to calm her rapidly beating heart, striving to make her intentions less obvious. Then, she sweetly said, "Uncle. Today, fate has brought us together, and this must be a gift from the heavens. Would you mind giving me your phone number? That way, we can keep in touch later." Chu Xiao had seen it all. He'd been through many storms in his life and had vast experience. He could easily see through the little tricks and intentions of a young girl like her. However, since she was a girl, he didn't want to outright reject her and risk hurting her feelings. Being a gentleman, Chu Xiao smiled and remained silent. His attitude clearly indicated he wasn't willing to give her his number, but he didn't say it outright. In a graceful manner, he gently declined while still leaving her an escape route, sparing her face. Lin 1111, being both beautiful and intelligent, instantly understood his intentions. But she wasn't about to give up so easily. She had finally met her dream man, and she was determined to pursue him. Since he hadn't directly rejected her, she decided to be even more forward. "Uncle, look at you. You're so young and handsome. You barely look older than your son. Why haven't you considered your own personal life? Why don't you think about finding a younger girl? Someone like me, still in college, full of youth and vitality, with a great personality and a soft figure." Lin 1111 was actually quite modest. She had never been so forward before, never boasted in front of others. But this time, she couldn't help herself. She was truly moved. She couldn't even be bothered with the usual reserve a girl should have, and she openly displayed her affection. It was as if she wanted to take a piece of paper, write "pick me, pick me, pick me" in big letters, and stick it to her forehead for him to see. But her generation was different from the previous one in many ways. They dared to love, dared to hate, and dared to express their feelings and pursue what they wanted. Seeing a girl who was at least a generation younger than him, Chu Xiao couldn't help but feel a bit amused. What was going on here? He had come to accompany his son on a blind date, and yet she wasn't interested in his son at all and was instead giving him all the signals. But putting that aside, this girl was actually quite interesting. She wasn't afraid of societal norms, she didn't follow the rules, and she wasn't afraid to pursue what she wanted. But Chu Xiao smiled faintly and said, "Little girl, your suggestion isn't wrong. But right now, I'm not thinking about personal matters. My focus is entirely on my son getting married and having kids soon. Keep chatting, but don't rush into things when it comes to emotions. The more you get to know someone, the more you'll discover." After saying that, he picked up his phone, which had been buzzing non-stop, glanced at it, then stood up and said he had some work to take care of. He left the room. Watching his tall and handsome figure gradually fade into the distance, disappearing into the crowd, Lin 1111 felt an inexplicable emptiness in her heart, as if something important was missing. She felt so distressed. Her smile slowly faded, replaced by a sense of loss. Her dream man had left just like that, without even leaving his phone number. Did this mean there was no chance of meeting him again? In this vast sea of people, finding him again seemed like an impossible task. Regret. She was angry at herself for not being more proactive. She should have run after him and stopped him earlier. As this thought crossed her mind, Lin 1111, who was both mischievous and clever, suddenly had a bright idea, as if something clicked in her mind. She immediately turned her head toward Chu Lin, her voice excited. You're not his son, right? Quick, give me your dad's phone number. Heaven is helping me. Huh? Chu Lin, who had been the invisible background character throughout the whole interaction, suddenly stared wide-eyed in disbelief. You want to be my mom? Although he had been forced into this blind date, he was still young and handsome, well-educated, and cultured. Didn't he expect that the girl would skip over him and go straight for his father? Was his dad really that charming? Yeah. Lin 1111 blurted out, speaking from her heart. From the moment I met him, I was completely smitten. I thought he was the one I was supposed to meet today. But I never imagined it would be you. Chu Lin tugged at the corner of his mouth. How could she reject someone as outstanding as himself? Now he understood. This whole blind date was just his dad's show. But that was fine. Didn't he want to get married too early anyway? Didn't he want to be tied down? Alright then, I'll give you my dad's number. But you have to promise me, don't say I gave it to you. Don't worry. Having received that promise, Chu Lin opened his phone's contact list and said, Here, write down this number. Lin 1111 immediately perked up, her heart pounding with excitement. Chapter 3, Uncle, are we on a date? She stared at the phone number carefully, recording each digit on her phone. When she finished, she double-checked it by reading through the entire number again, afraid of making a mistake. She really had gotten the contact information. So exciting. Uncle, I'm definitely going to chase you. Lin 1111 carefully put her phone away, then stood up and said her goodbyes, preparing to leave. Seeing her hurry away, Chu Lin couldn't help but smile. Girl, it's pretty obvious that you like my dad. You got the number and just left, so efficient. But he was happy if someone was chasing his dad, it meant he'd have more time to himself to have fun. At that moment, Chu Xiao was busy handling company matters. Although the specific business operations had already been perfected, there were always big decisions that required his personal approval. After all, managing such a large business empire involved a lot of work. He was so busy that it wasn't until evening that he finally had a moment to rest. So, Chu Xiao took out some special Westlake Longjing tea from the side table. He boiled the water, rinsed the cup, washed the tea leaves, and brewed the tea. After going through the tea ceremony, he leaned back against the leather sofa, picked up the teacup with its misty fragrance, and took a gentle sip. The tea was a royal special from the era of the Braided dynasty. It had long since disappeared from the market, and now it was worth a small fortune. The taste was rich, elegant, and lingering. Next, Chu Xiao put the cup down and habitually checked his phone for messages. He noticed a new red notification on WeChat. Curious, he opened it. It was a girl using her own photo as the avatar. The familiar exquisite beauty and signature sweet smile. It was the same girl he had seen earlier that day, his son's blind date. Since they had met before, Chu Xiao accepted the friend request. As soon as he accepted, a message popped up. Uncle, you finally accepted my request. So excited. JPG. I've been busy. It's okay, I just like waiting for you on my phone, it doesn't matter how long. It's getting late, you should go to sleep soon. Are you rushing me? I really like you, I want to chase you, I want to be with you. Don't you like me? This question made Chu Xiao pause for a moment. He did have a good impression of Lin 1111. She was easy to talk to, and their interactions had been comfortable. But as for romance, he hadn't really considered that. Moreover, she was still young, and her liking for him might just be because his son had flaunted his family's wealth during the blind date. So, Chu Xiao narrowed his eyes and replied, Did Chu Lin tell you that I have a lot of real estate, luxury cars, and countless companies? That's not true, it's all fake information. Actually, we are just an ordinary family. Lin 1111 quickly replied, explaining, I don't care about those things. I just fell for you at first sight, from the moment you walked into the cafe. If I were materialistic, I would have accepted the pursuit of those rich second-generation guys at school, and I wouldn't still be single. Honestly, when I first found out about your background, I was a bit worried, afraid that I wasn't good enough for you. Because my family isn't well off. I have to work part-time besides attending classes every day. Now that I know you're just an ordinary person, I'm a little happy. We're more compatible this way, and I really want to be with you. Look at me, I'm pretty, sweet, and a good student. Uncle, just give it a try with me. The last message was a voice note, and she said it in a long, coquettish tone. Chu Xiao couldn't help but laugh and replied, "Let us meet tomorrow then." He honestly felt that it was hard to communicate clearly through text, and he wanted to reject the girl in person. But Lin 1111, who was currently applying a face mask, had no idea what was really going on. She smiled so wide her mouth almost reached her ears and excitedly raised her little fist to wave. Seeing this, her three roommates couldn't help but tease. 1111, did you get accepted after confessing to someone? Ever since you got back this afternoon, we've seen you glued to your phone. Are you waiting for a reply from this person? I'm so curious, who's the one who made our campus goddess chase after them? You're so excited, just be careful not to get tricked. Yeah. You still have part-time work tomorrow, so get some rest. The next day, Chu Xiao saw that the agreed time was approaching, so he changed into a suit worth only 200 yuan. He intentionally dressed modestly, then took a taxi to meet Lin 1111. But the young girl didn't seem to care about his outfit at all. The moment she saw him, she jumped over like a little rabbit. Chu Xiao could genuinely feel her affection for him. "Uncle, let us go to the amusement park." She said it so naturally, "Work is tiring, we need to relax. It's all about balancing work and rest." As she spoke, Lin 1111 tried to hold onto Chu Xiao's arm, but he gently pulled away. "Okay, you lead the way." Lin 1111 felt a bit disappointed at first, but quickly cheered up. After all, her uncle had a different upbringing. Maybe he wasn't used to being so affectionate in public. No problem, they could take it slow. As long as he agreed to be with her, the rest was easy. Lin 1111 coquettishly asked Chu Xiao to join her in trying the roller coaster, the pirate ship, and the giant swing. It had been years since Chu Xiao had played these things. But, honestly, he was really enjoying himself, especially with such a young and pretty girl by his side. She was always around him, chattering away, excitedly speaking her mind. "Uncle, we're about to fall. Uncle, this swing is so thrilling. Uncle, you're so calm, you're not afraid of anything. Uncle, I'm a little scared, tilde. Uncle, can we ride the carousel again?" Her cute face was right in front of him, her laughter like the sweet song of a lark, always holding onto the corner of his clothes, relying on him. After spending several hours together, it was hard not to like her. She was young, bright, cheerful, and had a great figure. It made Chu Xiao's once calm, weathered heart feel reawakened. Later, they went to the cinema to watch a movie. This further brought them closer. During the thrilling moments in the film, Lin 1111 instinctively grabbed his arm, pressing herself against him. The sweet scent of her body, mixed with the fragrance of youth, and her soft, long hair, it was all enough to make any man's heart stir. What's more, Lin 1111 was beautiful, sweet-tempered, and gentle. So by the time they left the cinema after the 2.5-hour movie, Chu Xiao no longer resisted the little girl who was chasing him. This time, he let her hold his hand. "Uncle, are we on a date? Does this mean you've agreed to be with me?" Lin 1111's eyes were sparkling, and her voice was full of excitement. Millimeter tilde. Chu Xiao raised his hand and ruffled her little head, his voice warm. "Isn't it time for your part-time job? Where is it? I'll take you there." Chapter for 1111, These old men are all liars. "Uncle, you are so nice to me." Lin 1111 said crisply, "Not far, just next to Guanshuan Street." She raised her delicate face and looked at Chu Xiao, with a smile reaching her eyes. What a girl who loves herself purely and is particularly easy to satisfy. Chu Xiao smiled and held the soft and petite hand tightly. "Let's go." In front of the Koenigsegg Soho building, 3 young girls, wearing beautiful and fashionable clothes. They were standing aside chatting and waiting for someone. They were Lin 1111's roommates, working part-time in the same company. At the age of youth, these single girls gathered together and talked about topics. Naturally, which star is handsome, who is in love on campus, and what kind of boyfriend they want to find in the future. But just when they were discussing heatedly, suddenly someone said with sharp eyes, "Look, 1111," and a man got off the taxi. The roommate immediately looked up with gossip. As a school beauty, Lin 1111's love affair is naturally very eye-catching. Besides, it was in the dormitory yesterday. Everyone saw and heard how she cared about and pursued a boy. So the 3 of them were very curious and wanted to know who the other party was. Sure enough. This was a tall and handsome man, holding Lin 1111's hand and walking towards this side. They couldn't help but open their eyes wide and exclaimed, "Wow," uncontrollably. When they walked in, they eagerly opened their mouths to confirm. "Is this the boyfriend you pursued yesterday?" Lin 1111 introduced sweetly. "Yes, he agreed to date me today." Chu Xiao also greeted them politely. Faced with such a handsome male god, these girls were all curious and gossipy, and surrounded him to ask questions. Soon his age of 37 was known to everyone. This information was explosive, and the three roommates looked at each other with subtle expressions. Among them, Li Meiqi, who has a good relationship with Lin 1111, quickly pulled her over and lowered her voice to remind her. "Why did you find such a big guy who can be your father? Don't be fooled, this kind of old man is the most cunning." Shirkasan, who has always been at odds with Lin 1111, rolled her eyes and pretended to be sorry. "Oh, 1111, I'm not saying anything bad about you. There are so many rich second generations pursuing you in school, but you don't like them. Why did you chase such an uncle in the end? He is already old and is not worthy of you at all," said. Shirkasan raised her chin proudly, and this time she looked at Chu Xiao with a complicated look. "You said you are almost 40, and you still have the nerve to pick up little girls. What's wrong? Are you bullying little girls for being ignorant? I see you took a taxi here. You don't even have a car at this age. You are really doing too badly. TSK 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 tilde 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 tilde." In name, she seemed to be speaking for Lin 1111. In fact, he was sarcastic and derogatory to both of them. After listening to this, Lin 1111's first reaction was not to feel that she was at a disadvantage in her relationship, but to stand up for her boyfriend. She frowned and said in a serious tone, "Shirkasan, I don't allow you to say that about him. What's wrong with my boyfriend being 37 years old? I like him, that's my business. He has experience and is caring. Uncles are more attractive. If you don't understand, don't talk nonsense. Besides, what's wrong with taking a taxi? It's just a means of transportation. It can take people to places. As long as I can be with him, even if I take the bus, I'm happy." Shirkasan immediately took a step forward hypocritically and stood in front of Lin 1111. "You are in love and have been deceived by him. Don't worry about it. Look at how I expose the true face of this middle-aged man." She said it very nicely, in a high-sounding manner, as if she was speaking up for her friend. In fact, Shirkasan didn't really care about Lin 1111, but she was unhappy that she was no longer single. Especially because she could find such a handsome, tall and mature man. She was so jealous. She could only start with the conditions, hoping to suppress them and make herself feel comfortable. Compared with the arrogant and excited girlfriend classmate, Chu Xiao didn't have any expression on his face, but said calmly, "I have a car." His voice was not loud, but it was loud enough for everyone on the spot to hear. Everyone was stunned when they heard it. Lin 1111 also looked at her boyfriend in surprise. Didn't he say that they were from an ordinary family and didn't have any conditions? If they really had a car, why didn't they drive it, but took a taxi instead? Shirkasan, whose mouth was blocked, was obviously surprised by this answer. But after she choked again, she quickly reacted. She smiled contentiously and didn't believe the words of the person in front of her at all. Vain Shirkasan knew a lot about famous brands. This man who kept saying that he had a car was already 37 years old, but the clothes he wore were worth only a few hundred yuan. He could afford a car, and he was definitely bragging. This was in front of his girlfriend, and he didn't want to lose face. So, she decided to completely smash the other party's fig leaf, so that she could also slap Lin 1111 in the face. "So are you driving a Mercedes or a BMW?" Chu Xiao said nothing, and shook his head gently. Shirkasan was proud in her heart, thinking that the other party was just trying to show off. She was more determined in her thoughts. What about Audi? This time it should be right. Neither. Chu Xiao said calmly, looking at her calmly. This time Shirkasan didn't ask any more questions, but concluded that she thought it was a garbage truck worth tens of thousands of dollars. 1111, I'll tell you. You are definitely young and were deceived by this old man. She giggled. The exaggerated false eyelashes, trembling like a fly's legs, made people feel sick. Chu Xiao was too lazy to pay attention. He didn't mention material conditions, just because he didn't want the relationship to be impure. Uncle. Lin 1111 held his arm tightly. Don't care what she says. I want to be with you, and no one's words will affect me. Don't tell me you have a car. Even if you don't, I don't care. Looking at his girlfriend so determined, Chu Xiao couldn't help but like her more. And at this moment, his cell phone rang. This was the assistant's call, usually when there was something. Chu Xiao answered. Boss Chu, Boss Mar of Shuantan Group wants to see you. He is already waiting at the group. It's about patent licensing. Where are you? I'll drive over to pick you up right away. This Boss Mar. Chu Xiao met him once at the Longhua Economic Forum. The other party was very sincere in seeking cooperation. But he was very busy recently, so he postponed the appointment several times. If he refused again today, it would be a bit unreasonable. Besides, his girlfriend was about to go into work part-time, and he could just talk about business. Therefore, he thought about it and ordered, then come on, I'm in Koenigsegg Soho on Guangshuan Street. Okay, boss. The assistant agreed quickly. I'll drive over right away. Chapter 5 Because this car is mine. After hanging up the phone, Chu Xiao told his girlfriend in a gentle voice, someone will pick me up to discuss business later. Hearing what he said, Shirkasan almost laughed to death. She has talked about many men who can pretend to be cool. But the one who can pretend to be cool and pretends to be cool everywhere is really unique to Scorpio. She raised her hand to wipe the tears from her eyes, and then began to mock. Excellent, just said you don't have a car, you pretend to have one. But when I asked you what brand it is, you hesitated and refused to say. It's not a Mercedes-Benz, BMW, or Audi. Could it be an 8th-hand Yadi electric car? You are so old, almost 40, and you don't have anything you want. You are really a failure in life. Now you answer a phone call, and you don't forget to take the opportunity to flatter yourself. Someone picked you up to discuss business. Could it be that you are talking about the minimum living allowance? Har 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 tilde 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 tilde. When she said this, the other two roommates also became suspicious. The more everyone thought about it, the more they felt that it made sense, and they looked at Lin 1111 with sympathy. As Lin 1111's good friend, Li Meichi especially didn't want her to be deceived. So she advised, break up with this uncle quickly. This is not a love affair, this is targeted poverty alleviation. When the time comes, you will be left with nothing, and you won't even have a place to cry. Lin 1111's beautiful peach blossom eyes turned red with anxiety. She was so angry that her chest heaved, and she immediately argued for the uncle. What do you know? Do you understand him? Don't be self-righteous after meeting him once. I like him, I believe in him, and I support him. If he says he has a car, then he has a car. If he says he will talk about business later, then we will talk about business. I don't care whether he can provide material conditions, I just love him and want to be with him. Looking at his girlfriend's indignation and defending herself, Chu Xiao once again felt her sincere, strong and pure love. This is really a treasure girl. But Lin 1111's words sounded childish and ridiculous to Shirkasan. She even began to be complacent and felt that she was very smart. At the same time, she was gloating and was willing to see the school's recognized school beauty. This roommate who was better than herself in every way had a bad day today and was cheated by an old and poor man. When she returned to school, Shirkasan decided to promote it well and take the opportunity to step on Lin 1111. But just when she was making her wishful thinking, a Rolls-Royce with a flying goddess logo on top drove over from not far away. The three roommates suddenly opened their eyes wide in surprise and exclaimed, "What a handsome car! Isn't this a Rolls-Royce? It really lives up to its reputation and is high-end. Why is it so long? Which model is this? It seems that I have never seen it before. Although I don't know the model, I know that Rolls-Royce is the endorsement of luxury. How can it be luxurious? It is a ceiling-level existence in the automotive industry. Look at this aura-filled front face and this super long body. It is simply a symbol of the rich and powerful. It is also a double-door design. It is too elegant and full of classic flavor." Shirkasan's eyes are almost on this car. With the appearance of this Rolls-Royce, she looks down on Lin 1111's boyfriend even more. "Hey, that uncle, did you see it? This is called a real car. This is a successful person. This is the level that middle-aged men should reach. Although I don't know which model of Rolls-Royce this is, I can be sure. This is definitely something you can't imagine in your life. Let alone the car, you can't even afford the wheels. So, I advise you to break up with 1111 as soon as possible. Don't bother 1111 anymore. You think she's young and in love, so it's easy to fool her. I've seen a lot of people like you. The less capable you are, the more you want to show off and pick up girls. Chu Xiao glanced at her and explained lightly, this is the Chinper Collection edition of Rolls-Royce. There are only 20 units in the world. It is specially customized by Rolls-Royce for top customers. The price was ridiculously expensive at the beginning, and now you can't buy it even if you have money. Shirkasan laughed angrily, you know a lot. You often read car forums. But what's the use? Just then, the door of the Rolls-Royce opened towards them. All three roommates were stunned. They were stunned and could hardly believe their eyes. Shirkasan's heart almost jumped out of her throat, and she felt that she was suffocating because of her rapid breathing. Such a luxury car worth tens of millions, the owner sitting inside must be either rich or noble. To be chosen by such a man, it must be a blessing from the ancestors, and it must have accumulated 8 generations of good deeds. At this moment, everyone also gradually recovered from the huge shock and was suddenly excited. Wow, open the door to us. Isn't this the rich president in the car, who has taken a fancy to us? Sure enough, it is a beautiful jade jewel. Even if it is covered in dust, it will be discovered by the big boss. Sisters, I think he must be looking for me and inviting me to his house. Don't be sentimental. Among the three of us, I am the most beautiful and fair-skinned. Boss, look at me. If you beg me, I can get in the car and be honest with you. Who is saying that? Yes, I can let my hair down and fight bloody battles. All of you get out of the way. How can such a noble master like you be interested in such a jerk? I have been learning dance since elementary school and have an elegant temperament. Just as they were talking and bragging, this noble Rolls-Royce Chinper stopped steadily in front of Chu Xiao and Lin 1111. The driver and assistant Xiao's son ran over, opened the back door, and then made a gesture to invite Chu Xiao. This was an unexpected scene. Lin 1111 was shocked, and beads of sweat appeared on her palms nervously. Her heart was beating like a drum, and she looked at the multi-million luxury car in front of her and their humbly inviting driver in disbelief. A strong answer that was about to come out made people dare not think but have to think. The other roommates' pupils shrank suddenly, their eyes were red from the excitement, and their mouths were opened so wide that they could fit a fist. No way, no way, no way. This car actually belongs to the old man and Lin 1111. Just as everyone was shocked, Chu Xiao naturally took Lin 1111's hand and walked to the car. Little friend, you have been with me all day today, and your feet are sore. We don't want to do part-time jobs anymore. Rest when you are tired. Come, I'll take you to relax and have fun. Without saying anything, he took Lin 1111 to the car. Chu Xiao let his girlfriend get in first, and then he stepped to get in the car, but at this moment, he seemed to think of something, paused, and looked back at Shirkasan. Didn't you just ask why I know so much about this car? I'll tell you the answer now. Because this Rolls-Royce Chinper, which is limited to 20 units worldwide, is mine. After the words fell, everyone was stunned. And Chu Xiao calmly got in the car and drove away with Lin 1111. Chapter 6 Uncle, I'm not small. Inside the car, Lin 1111 seemed to be in the Milky Way, with an embroidered starry sky ceiling. The Chinper Classic Edition has a starry sky ceiling and a starry sky on the inside of the door. The rear space is particularly large, and the seats are equipped with leg rests. There is also a TV embedded in the backrest of the front seat. Everything you see is full of dignity. Even if you are a novice who doesn't know much about cars, you can feel the luxury in the details. Therefore, it is not difficult to guess that this car must be worth a lot of money. Lin 1111, who comes from an ordinary family, suddenly became nervous and didn't know where to put her hands and feet. She became a little uneasy and asked Chu Xiao softly, "Is this really your car? I've heard of Rolls-Royce. It must be worth several million, right?" This is not what the uncle said. It's a car that ordinary families can afford. Lin 1111 began to feel uneasy and even a little worried. If this car belongs to the uncle, it means he is very rich. Such a handsome, rich, excellent and perfect man. How can her family conditions match him? Lin 1111 knew herself well and didn't dare to dream of a wealthy family. Although she was young, beautiful, had a good personality, and was very considerate. But such a rich man must have seen many beauties and celebrities and had long been accustomed to it. Looking at Lin 1111's nervous look, Chu Xiao felt a little warm in his heart and couldn't help but raise his hand to hug his girlfriend's shoulders and pat her lightly to comfort her. This day's performance. It also made him feel that Lin 1111 was indeed a simple and honest girl. In order not to put pressure on his girlfriend, Chu Xiao did not tell Lin 1111 that this car was not worth a few million. The total price was nearly 30 million. He just smiled and said, "This car is not mine, it belongs to our company." Didn't you just answer the phone and say there was business? This is to show the strength of the company and show it to partners. Hearing this explanation, Lin 1111, who was originally nervous, breathed a sigh of relief. Her body began to relax from stiffness and restraint. But soon, Lin 1111 realized one more thing and hurriedly and carefully reminded. "This is your company's car. Then I'll take it. This is not good. Uncle." She kindly reminded Chu Xiao, "If the company knows, it will be bad if they blame you. Hurry up and ask the driver to stop the car and put me on the side of the road. It's okay for me to walk by myself. I can't let you get involved." As she said, Lin 1111 pushed Chu Xiao anxiously, asking him to tell the driver to stop the car. This attitude of thinking about the boss in her eyes and heart. The assistant Xiao's son in front couldn't help but secretly marvel in his heart. He has been with the boss for so many years and has seen popular young flowers who are deliberately trying to hook the boss. He has also seen celebrities who take the initiative to throw themselves into his arms, and there are many workplace partners who pretend to be green tea, and interns who have not graduated from college. But there are very few girls who are so pure in love when they are just adults. Especially she is as beautiful as a fairy, her appearance and temperament are all at the peak of admiration. This girl is really worthy of the boss. Chu Xiao also smiled, very satisfied. This girl. The more you get to know her, the more you like her. Youthful and beautiful. Cute and simple. Sincere and gentle. Just now, he had something in his mind that he didn't say. This car is indeed registered under the company's name, but the entire company belongs to him. Don't worry. Chu Xiao looked at his girlfriend tenderly. "I've been in the company for many years. The position is also very important, it can be said to be the backbone. Therefore, everyone respects me very much, no one will bother me." Lin 1111 was a little less nervous. "Really? That's great. Of course. Have you been working for a long time, similar to the kind of position that is difficult to shake?" "Almost, my position is indeed irreplaceable. Uncle is really excellent, it seems that I have to work harder." "Then you go to discuss business, is it appropriate for me to be by your side?" "No, I'm cancelling it temporarily, and I'll accompany you tonight." "Really? Really? I'm so happy that I'm going to faint. Children are really easy to satisfy. I'm not small in any way." The atmosphere in the car began to become relaxed and pleasant. "It's not early now, and I've been playing all day." Chu Xiao thought his girlfriend should be hungry at this time, so he said, "Where do you want to eat? I know a good French restaurant, the steak and red wine are all air-shipped. The environment is also first class, I will take you to experience it." Lin 1111's first reaction was, "No, it must be very expensive." Chu Xiao rubbed her little head. "It doesn't matter, you won't go bankrupt if you eat a meal." "Uncle." Lin 1111 came over and said mysteriously and proudly, "I will take you to a restaurant. This treasure restaurant is delicious, the boss is very nice. Don't look at the cheap price and the inconspicuous location, but you will definitely remember it once you go there." Chu Xiao saw that her eyes were shining and she really liked it, so he nodded in agreement. The car shuttled through the alleys and arrived at the destination soon. Lin 1111 happily pulled her boyfriend out of the car. "This is it." Seeing the store on the dilapidated street, the plaque was mottled with words, and the area was only a dozen square meters. Chu Xiao was stunned. Since he became rich, he hadn't been to such a fly restaurant for many years. Don't mention it, coming here suddenly really gave him a different feeling. The boss was a middle-aged couple, and they greeted Lin 1111 enthusiastically when they saw her. Chu Xiao could see that they were very familiar with each other and had a good relationship. "Boss, give us 2 stir-fried meat sets." Lin 1111 ordered politely, "Put more rice and meat in one of them, thank you." Needless to say, this must be for her boyfriend. No problem, 1111, wait a moment, it will be ready soon. The boss smiled and glanced at the two couples holding hands, and then started to get busy. Within 5 minutes, the steaming lunchbox was handed over from the window. Chu Xiao took it naturally, then unpacked the disposable chopsticks, and ate the lunchbox on the street, leaning against the Rolls-Royce. Yes. You read it right. This very old and small shop is just a takeaway shop. In front of it, there is a black, extended and luxurious Rolls-Royce. In front of the car, there are two people. One is tall, handsome, exuding the charm of a mature man. One is delicate, beautiful, and a young girl who is lovable. They look very good together. At this moment, the two are holding lunchboxes and eating with relish. Uncle, I'll give you another piece of meat. It's not enough, don't give it all to me, keep it for yourself. Hee, yours is yours, and mine is still yours. Little fool. The man touched the girl's head lovingly, and the girl smiled sweetly, with love in her eyes. This scene was so beautiful. Other passers-by looked at him with surprise and envy. The driver was also stunned by this scene. The CEO Ma of Tencent Group invited the boss to have dinner at the 7-star hotel. The boss didn't go, but ate a box lunch for 15 yuan. Chapter 7 Dad, are you having a second spring? The two seemed to have only each other in their eyes. They talked and laughed while eating. Such a talented man and a beautiful woman formed the most beautiful scenery in the alley. Lin 1111 liked this store very much, and the homemade honey grapefruit tea was quickly drunk up. Noticing that the cup was empty, Chu Xiao suggested, since you like to drink so much, buy another cup. Uncle, yours seems to be full, and you haven't touched it much. Well, I don't drink much, so I don't like it very much. Give it to me, no need to spend money to buy it. I've already had this. I don't mind. Lin 1111 picked up the cup, bit the straw that Chu Xiao had sucked, and really drank it. Such an intimate action made people around envious. Everyone stopped to watch, luxury cars, handsome men and beautiful women. It was already full of topics, not to mention that this couple was so sweet and well matched. At this time, Lin 1111 also noticed that many people looked over and felt a little embarrassed. Uncle. She leaned closer to the man again, her shy cheeks reddened like apples. Such a natural reaction made Chu Xiao feel very cute. It happened that the two of them had basically finished eating. So, after throwing the lunchbox into the trash can, the driver drove them away from this remote alley. It was already late this time. After Chu Xiao asked for the address, he soon drove to an old resettlement housing community. This place is not much better than the Fly restaurant just now. It is also remote and shabby, but there are many people. The arrival of the luxurious Rolls-Royce car is particularly eye-catching here. At this time, there are many residents who go downstairs for a walk. Seeing such a rare car, they all gathered around. Oh my God! How come there is a luxury car in our community? What brand is this? I don't know it. It looks very expensive, probably several million. I know, this is called Rolls-Royce, and the logo is a little golden man in front of the car. What? That's called the Flying Goddess. Just this one car logo is worth 200,000 yuan. Wow, the world of the rich is really unimaginable. One car logo is enough for ordinary people like us to buy a mid-range car. It really broadens my horizons. I've only seen this car on the internet before. It's the Chinper Collection Edition launched by Rolls-Royce. Why do rich people come to our community? To send my girlfriend off. Didn't I see them holding hands? At this time, Chu Xiao and Lin 1111 had already gotten out of the car and walked to the door of the unit. Uncle, I don't want to part with you. Lin 1111 was a little reluctant, but Chu Xiao was actually reluctant to leave. But when they first met, the relationship still had to be built step by step. So he said softly, "Be good. We'll be together for a long time in the future." Lin 1111 nodded. She didn't want to appear too clingy, okay. Anyway, it's convenient to contact by phone, so you should go back and rest early. The two hugged each other naturally and agreed to see each other tomorrow. Back in the car, Chu Xiao leaned on the leather seat, feeling particularly relaxed and happy. Not to mention that after this day, he was with his girlfriend. He felt that he had become younger. This feeling is wonderful and comfortable. At this time, Lin 1111 had returned home. Her single mother came out of the room and asked with concern, Xiao, how was your blind date? If the last one doesn't work, Aunt Kui said there is another elite returnee. He has very good conditions and has now joined Xiaolong Group. That's Xiaolong Group, one of the world's top 500 companies. If you can get in, you will definitely have a bright future and generous treatment. Hearing her mother's nagging, she started to instill in herself again. Lin 1111 hurried back to her room and locked the door. Mom, I already have a partner. Don't ask people to arrange blind dates for me in the future. I don't see anyone, I don't like anyone, I just want to marry my partner. Lin's mother, who was locked outside the door, shouted helplessly and strangely. You have a partner so soon? What kind of conditions can compare with the elite returnees who have already joined Xiaolong Group? Xiaoxi, did you find a poor boy? Don't be stupid, this kind of person is not suitable for marriage. Lin 1111 answered loudly, I don't want to care about these conditions. What are his conditions and circumstances? Talk to mom and I'll help you with some advice. No need, I'm an adult, I make my own decisions, don't worry about it. How can you talk like that? Can mom let you suffer? It's too late, I'm going to sleep and I won't say anything. Hey, kid, let us talk about this tomorrow. At the same time, Chu Xiao, who returned home, was in a good mood at this time. He walked briskly and couldn't help humming a little tune all the way. This made Chu Lin, who was playing mobile games in the hall and waiting for his father to come home, look up suspiciously. What's going on? Since his mother passed away, his father has been busy with his career and is particularly serious and unsmiling. But when he came back tonight, he was not stern and looked very friendly. Dad, are you rejuvenated? He couldn't help but ask curiously, you are in such a good mood. Still humming a little tune, I think this is the state of love. Chu Xiao nodded, I guess so. Really? Chu Lin widened his eyes and swallowed hard, totally unbelievable. However, after thinking quickly, he couldn't help but have a bold guess in his heart. Although it was unexpected, only this explanation could work. So, he asked in surprise, Dad, you're not really with that Lin 1111, are you? That's the female student we met in the cafe, who asked me for your phone number. Is it not possible? Chu Lin's head suddenly buzzed, and he felt a little blurry. He took a deep breath and closed his eyes to concentrate, and then he recovered. But Chu Lin was still shocked. Dad, you're not really going to find me a stepmother, are you? Yeah, I asked you to go on a blind date, but you always refused and didn't talk seriously when you met. So you don't need me to practice the trumpet, you come yourself. HMPH, that's about right, so you have a sense of crisis. It's okay, there's still a chance, and Xiaolong Group is so big, it's just right to have a few more people to manage it. Don't laugh, work hard, and hurry up with your studies and marriage. Dad knows, but then again, that Lin 1111 is really suitable for you. I'm optimistic about you. You also said that you were originally asked to go on a blind date, but you didn't expect it to end like this. This is called fate, it can't be stopped, but I didn't expect you to be so fast. Dad, where are you at, what's up? Get lost. Chu Xiao flicked his finger and hit Chu Lin's forehead hard, go back to your room and read. In a few days, you will report to the School of Finance of Peking University and Tsinghua University. Behave better for me, otherwise I will peel off a layer of skin from you. Chapter 8 The Youth Fluttering in the Wind. I know. Chu Lin shuddered and fled into his room in shame. And here. Chu Xiao thought of his girlfriend and the corners of his mouth curved up. This feeling of pure love has been missing for many years. He continued to hum a little tune and walked to the bathroom on the second floor. First he took off his clothes, took a refreshing shower, and then stood in front of the mirror to wipe his hair. Don't say that. Chu Xiao was stunned himself. Well, how to say it? Obviously, there is no change in the facial features, but it looks very different. The overall mental outlook is very good, that is, very energetic. Could this really be the magic of love? Chu Xiao quickly dried his hair, then wrapped a bath towel around his waist and walked back to the bedroom. Ding 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 tilde tilde tilde. The exclusive ringtone of his girlfriend rang. He picked up the phone with a slight smile, and then sat down on the bed. A clear and sweet voice came through the receiver. Uncle, you're home, right? Did you sleep? Not yet, how about you? I've washed up and put on a pink cartoon suspender skirt. I miss you so much. Lin 1111's tone was a little coquettish. Uncle, can you take a photo for me now? We've just been apart for half an hour, but why do I feel like it's been a century? So I can only rely on photos to relieve my longing. Oh, it's not appropriate. Chu Xiao looked down at Bangua's body. Next time. Why? Just send one photo, I promise to only look at it, and I won't lick the screen. Chu Xiao was amused by her words. Please, uncle, please. Lin 1111 dragged out a long-tail tone. Her voice was so soft that it was impossible to refuse. Okay, I'll take a picture for you later. Uncle is the best, newer Tilder. Lin 1111 lay on the bed, and because she was so happy, she kissed the phone. She was wearing a facial mask, and at this moment, her two slender and white legs were shaking, and her face was full of happiness and sweetness. The two continued to chat on the phone, and the chat was very sweet. But as they were talking, Lin 1111 suddenly thought of something and exclaimed, "Oh no! Oh! What happened? I'm going to be miserable tomorrow. Didn't I miss my part-time job today?" Lin 1111's tone was full of worry. I'm absent from work without asking for leave in advance, and I may lose my salary for the past few days. I don't know tomorrow whether I will be fired by my supervisor. Chu Xiao smiled slightly. Then I will accompany you to the part-time job tomorrow. How can that be possible? Lin 1111 said naturally, I can't affect your work, uncle. I'm fine. Chu Xiao's voice was magnetic and low. It's getting late, go to bed early, and see you tomorrow. Okay, uncle, don't forget my photo. Chu Xiao hummed, hung up the phone, then took a photo with his phone and sent it over. No beauty filter, no angle, and no carefully designed expressions. But just this simple photo made Lin 1111's eyes widen instantly. She held her phone and stared at the photo, her eyes fixed. Handsome. Good-looking. God-like appearance. Lin 1111 held her chin with her hand and stared at it for half an hour, but she still felt unsatisfied. Finally, she set her boyfriend's photo as wallpaper and chat background. Only then did she go to bed contentedly. The next day, after Chu Xiao packed up, he came to the garage. There were more than 20 luxury cars parked side by side here, all of which were top luxury cars, or limited edition. Maybach, Ferrari LaFerrari, Lamborghini SVJ, McLaren P1, McLaren Senna, Koenigsegg One, Bugatti Chiron, Pagani Zonda, Apollo EVO. He looked for a long time and thought that he should be low-key with his girlfriend so as not to scare her. So he chose the cheapest car, Ferrari SF90. But this top-of-the-line green carbon convertible also costs 10 million. Then Chu Xiao drove to the community where Lin 1111 lived. She stopped the car halfway across the street and sent a message to Lin 1111 to come down. As a result, this cheapest Ferrari still caused shock and onlookers. Damn, I saw such an expensive supercar early in the morning. Is the life of rich people so simple and unpretentious? This one is more handsome and stunning, with a transparent engine cover. Ferrari SF90, 0-100 km/h acceleration is 2.5 seconds, the riding experience is amazing. Look at me, rich man, I'm a school beauty. Come on, I already have a girlfriend with this condition. Wow. The owner is so young and handsome, I really don't deserve him. Chu Xiao has long been accustomed to these discussions and looks. He walked forward without paying any attention and went to the community to pick up his girlfriend. Lin 1111 tied a cute bun today. Uncle. When she saw Chu Xiao for the first time, she rushed over with the ball. Don't say it, it was really shocking. It's true as she said, she is not small in any way. Feeling the warmth in his arms, Chu Xiao naturally put his arm around his girlfriend's waist. Good morning. You must be hungry, let us go eat something. Breakfast is very down-to-earth soy milk and fried dough sticks, but this is a time-honored brand. Afterwards, at Lin 1111's suggestion, the two rode a shared bicycle to the company where she worked part-time. Chu Xiao had never used this kind of transportation, so he needed to register when scanning the code, which delayed him a little. Uncle, don't you ride one on weekdays? Lin 1111 asked curiously. It's very convenient, there are everywhere. Chu Xiao smiled slightly. I have this. He pointed to his legs, and he could get into the car by lifting his legs, and there was a full-time driver to drive. But Lin 1111 mistakenly thought he was talking about walking. That's so tiring. She frowned and said with heartache, I want to work hard at part-time jobs, let's save money to buy a commuter car. I heard that the cheapest one is only 50,000 or 60,000. Chu Xiao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. You don't have to worry about making money. Let's go to your company first. Okay, Tilda. The two rode a shared bicycle and drove forward briskly, feeling the early morning summer breeze blowing through their hair, looking at the youthful and lovely girlfriend next to him with a smile. A long-lost feeling of campus love came over him. Chu Xiao only felt that he had become younger. Uncle, hurry up. Lin 1111 rode very fast, with her slender and straight legs on the ground, turning her head to urge him. She was facing the light at this moment, and her beautiful facial features were coated with a layer of light golden sunlight, which made her skin whiter and more beautiful, as flawless as jade. Coupled with the college-style dark blue suit and Mary Jane shoes, the youthful vitality made Chu Xiao dazed. He seemed to have returned to his youthful college days. Pure, simple, beautiful. Chu Xiao paused, then smiled and said, okay. He exerted force on his feet and rode towards his girlfriend. Soon, the two bicycles were running side by side. Lin 1111 turned her head to look at Chu Xiao from time to time, with a happy smile on her face. Just like that, it didn't take long. They arrived downstairs of the part-time company. Chapter 9 Shocked Supervisor. This is where I work. Lin 1111 pointed to the plaque with white characters on a green background and said proudly, this company is very large. Chu Xiao glanced at it without any expression. Lianjie Real Estate Agency, the leading agency for renting and second-hand houses in China. Isn't this one of his companies? I didn't expect that my girlfriend would apply to work here. This is really, if you don't work for the same family, you won't get married. It's such a fate. Lin 1111 was worried at the moment, our supervisor is so fierce. How will he punish me later? Will he not deduct a week's salary? Then I've worked for nothing. Chu Xiao patted her back calmly, don't worry, I won't deduct your salary, I said. Uncle, you are bragging again. Lin 1111 smiled, but I feel much better with you by my side. Even if the money is deducted, so what? I am the energetic little 1111. Then I'll go in and have lunch together. Chu Xiao agreed with a smile, okay. After watching his girlfriend enter the door, he turned around, took out his mobile phone from his pocket and dialed, Xiao Sunday. Go and give me the phone number of the regional general manager of the Lianjie group responsible for Hangzhou. Assistant Xiao Sun was shocked. The boss who is busy with all kinds of things manages hundreds of listed companies. Usually, he only sees a few vice presidents of the board of directors. By holding meetings and giving them instructions, the group's operations are maintained. This is the first time that the boss said he would directly contact the general manager of a subsidiary company. The assistant thought that a major strategic problem had occurred, so he immediately opened the tablet and told the number. But he didn't expect that this had nothing to do with the company, but was just a personal matter. And here, Chu Xiao directly called the person in charge of the Love Home agency. Hearing that it was the boss of the group, he almost dropped his phone. Boss, why are you calling me in person? For a while. The leading agency for renting houses in Longhua, the Love Home Group. It was a sensation. Everyone was talking frantically. Did you hear that the big boss behind the group actually called to ask about someone? Our CEO's son thought he was going to be fired. It's so scary. What kind of big thing can alarm the big boss? It seems to be looking for an ordinary employee. No way, we have more than 1,000 stores. Finding an employee is like looking for a needle in a haystack. Who is so important? I'm so curious. Don't guess. The big boss's thoughts are beyond the understanding of us ordinary people. The company is in a mess now, and all things have been put on the back burner. The first task is to start looking for Lin 1111 right away. And on the other side, inside Soho, Lianjie agency store, Lin 1111 was carrying a small bag and was seen by her colleagues as soon as she entered the door. 1111, you are finally here. She pulled the person over with a nervous look on her face. The supervisor has a gloomy face and is looking for you. He found out that you didn't come to work yesterday and he was very angry. He told you to go to his office when you come, so be careful. After the colleague said this, Lin 1111 felt even more unsure. The supervisor's nickname is Baogong, which does not mean that he is upright, but that he is black-mouthed, black-hearted and black-handed. He once scolded a 5-year-old employee to depression and autism, and he resigned voluntarily. He would also hit the male salesperson without saying a word. More importantly, I heard that this supervisor is a relative of the store manager. Who would dare to offend such a background? Lin 1111 really walked forward with gritted teeth at this moment. Sure enough. After arriving at the office, the supervisor's face was dark, and he began to lecture her sternly. Xiao Lin, you didn't come to work yesterday for no reason, did you? What's the matter? Is this company yours? If you don't want to come, don't come. You ignore the rules and regulations like this. Do you think I am blind? I tell you, a college student like you who is undisciplined should be severely punished to learn his lesson. Don't think that you are young and beautiful, and you seem to have many job opportunities. I tell you that the competition is very serious now. If you want to work, be serious, otherwise you will leave tomorrow. I have seen many people like you who want to be lazy and play tricks because of your beauty. Lin 1111 lowered her head, tugged at the corner of her clothes, and said nothing. She didn't want to skip work, but the uncle said that she had been with him for a day and it was too hard, so he let her rest. But since she had made a mistake, she could only wait to be punished. The supervisor saw that Lin 1111's attitude was quite honest, and she kept lowering her head without refutation. He was very proud, thinking that His Majesty had worked. But just when the supervisor snorted coldly and was about to say that he would deduct Lin 1111's salary, suddenly, the door was pushed open. Lin 1111 is here, right? The speaker was the regional general manager of the entire Hangzhou city. He asked Lin 1111 right away, and his expression was so solemn. The supervisor was dumbfounded and stood there in astonishment. But he soon reacted and stood up to greet him. General manager, what brings you here? Please take a seat, please. He smiled, bowed 90 degrees, and nodded and bowed. This employee is Lin 1111. She must have offended you. I was just talking about her not coming to work yesterday. College students today are really outrageous. They skipped work without even saying hello. They are really disorganized and undisciplined. But since it's her first time making a mistake, I plan to sever a week's salary from her as a warning. If she violates the rules again, I will fire her without mercy. The general manager stood there and didn't even sit down on the chair. He was trying to catch his breath to find this ordinary employee named Lin 1111. The group was in chaos. Everyone was mobilized to screen one store after another. There were more than 1,000 stores in Hangzhou alone. It was really hard to find them, and they had to check the names. It was finally confirmed that she was working in the Koenigsegg Soho branch. He hurried over, almost jogging all the way. Fortunately, he arrived in time. Lin 1111's heartbeat was even stronger at this moment. How could such a small matter of mine have alarmed the general manager? It seems that today's punishment may be very severe. Just when she was thinking about it and even prepared to be fired, the general manager suddenly smiled flatteringly. Oh, you must be Lin 1111, please sit down. After that, he ordered the secretary beside him, hurry up and make a cup of the best de Hongpao for Miss Lin. After making the arrangements, the general manager wiped the sweat from his forehead and continued. Fortunately, I came in time, otherwise it would have caused a big mistake. It's just a small matter, how can I deduct your salary? In the future, you can take a break when you want, and come whenever you want. You don't need to ask for leave from anyone, let alone abide by the company's attendance system. Ms. Lin enjoys absolute freedom to commute in all the Lianjia stores. The general manager's flattering attitude and these remarks. Let Lin 1111 and the supervisor be dumbfounded. Chapter 10 Uncle, you are amazing. What's going on? The supervisor thought the general manager came barging in with a worried look on his face. Because Lin 1111 offended him, the punishment had to be announced. He was quite happy, thinking that this incident was a good opportunity to give his employees a good lesson. Let us see who dares to skip work easily in the future. Unexpectedly, the situation was completely the opposite. The general manager treated Lin 1111 like a VIP. No. This flattering and respectful attitude is no exaggeration to say that it is like meeting a direct superior. The supervisor's eyes rolled around, although he didn't know the real reason. But he had already started to sweat coldly on his back, regretting his words, actions and attitude just now. What a bad idea. This Lin 1111 might be a relative of some important person. Otherwise, given her age, it's impossible for her to be outstanding. Could it be the daughter of some wealthy family on the board of directors? I deliberately dressed plainly to come to the company for internship to experience the life of the lower class. Lin 1111 didn't know what her supervisor was thinking. At this moment she was also confused and surprised. Hello, General Manager. I did have something to do yesterday, so I didn't come. In the future, I will definitely go to get off work and leave on time. I will not be late or leave early, and I will not be absent from work. A country has its own laws, a family has its own rules, and the company's rules are naturally something that every employee must abide by. Lin 1111 said this from the bottom of her heart, and secretly made up her mind to be at work on time in the future. The general manager quickly smiled and said, "It really doesn't matter. Rules are made by people, and special matters should be handled specially." Lin 1111 shook her head. "The company doesn't blame me and doesn't deduct my salary. I'm already very happy. How could I ask for more?" Seeing her serious attitude, it was not a polite gesture at all. The general manager feels really uneasy at this moment. The group's big boss told him not to restrict Miss Lin from going to work, but the little girl insisted on coming on time. You can't afford to offend anyone. Then he could only smile bitterly and said, "I still say the same thing, Miss Lin, you can do whatever you want. Treat this as your own home and be happy. If you see anything unreasonable in the company, please tell me and I will adjust it immediately." Lin 1111 was really surprised. How could this general manager be so polite and humble? However, she still smiled politely. "Okay, I understand. It seems that the matter has been resolved satisfactorily." The general manager secretly breathed a sigh of relief. "Then I'll leave first. The company still has a lot of things to deal with." Wait until the general manager leaves. The supervisor was also very cautious, even changing his address and trying to be more approachable. 1111, is there any rich person in your family? Lin 1111 was confused and said softly, "No. I come from a single-parent family, and my mother has to save money to send me to school. The other relatives are also ordinary workers and have nothing to do with being rich." The supervisor said, "Oh," and didn't ask any further questions. It seems that the girl doesn't want to talk, so don't ask. Children from wealthy families have their own ideas and don't like being questioned. Anyway, it won't be a wrong thing for me to be nicer to her in the future. Think of this. The supervisor said in a friendly manner, "There are not many customers in the store today, you can go back and have a rest." Lin 1111's personality is that of a sincere, motivated and serious person. Her values do not allow her to get something for nothing, and she must be worthy of her salary. Therefore, she decided to go to work as usual and go to the park to hand out flyers in the afternoon. All the employees in the store looked at Lin 1111 with changed eyes. The person who can make the general manager treat her like this must be a hidden boss. 1111, you can do this? You hit it so well. I thought he was just a bronze player, but I didn't expect him to be an upper-level king. Tell me the truth, are you the CEO's daughter, and why are you here to learn about basic work? I was worried about you, but it turns out I was just worrying for nothing. When I saw the supervisor was so aggressive, I thought you must have worked for nothing these few days and your salary was deducted. Me too, and the general manager just came and the situation looks critical. I didn't expect the situation to take such a sudden turn and turn around so quickly. Lin 1111 didn't know whether to laugh or cry. You all misunderstood, I'm really not a rich man, and I don't have any rich relatives. However, the more she tried to deny it, the more everyone became more convinced of their own judgment. It's just that since she was unwilling to admit it, everyone tacitly agreed not to publicize it. Time flies. In a blink of an eye, it was noon. Lin 1111 went downstairs on time and met Chu Xiao, who was waiting for her. "Uncle." She naturally took Chu Xiao's arm and said, "I've been busy all morning, and I'm a little hungry." "Then let's go eat now." The two chose a low-key and simple Japanese restaurant not far away. Soon, 2 marbled Wagyu beef sets were served on the table. "Uncle." While eating, Lin 1111 said happily, "You and I are very lucky today. The supervisor really didn't have my salary deducted. You are amazing. You can even guess this." Chu Xiao smiled slightly, seeing through it but not saying it out loud. "That's not good." Yeah, I didn't expect this at all. Lin 1111 continued to talk like popping beans. The general manager is here again. He told me that the company is more flexible and I can work flexible hours and take a break whenever I want. How can there be such a good company? The boss who founded it is such a nice person. Chu Xiao turned his head. Do you think so? Yes. Lin 1111 nodded heavily. Other bosses exploit their employees and make them work harder to squeeze out value. This home-loving boss has such a mindset and definitely has a long-term vision. I wish him to make more money in the future. Chu Xiao raised his hand and rubbed his girlfriend's hair. Well, eat quickly, the soup will get cold soon. After a brief reunion at noon, the two had to separate again. Lin 1111 was reluctant to leave, but there was nothing she could do since everyone had to go to work. That afternoon, Lin 1111 picked up the thick stack of flyers on the table and decided to take a bus to Westlake Park to distribute flyers. There is a large flow of customers and many people there, so it is very suitable for publicity. She is very serious and meticulous at work and never slacks off. This kind of printing paper looks thin, but it is actually very heavy. When Lin 1111 arrived at the destination with her backpack, she was sweating all over. But she did not rest, but started working actively. Lianjie Agency, the most reliable second-hand housing agency. We don't produce houses, we just move them. Just make a phone call and we'll take care of all the rest for you. However, although Lin 1111 is dedicated to her work, she also takes time out of her busy schedule to send messages. But after contacting for a long time, Chu Xiao didn't reply. Lin 1111 couldn't help but wonder, where did Uncle go today? Why didn't you reply to any of my messages? That's so weird. Chapter 11. Your shallow smile is like plum jam. It's scorching hot in July. Lin 1111 was alone in Westlake Park, distributing company flyers. The motivation that supports her to work so hard now is the bright future with the uncle. But why doesn't he reply to the message? Ding tilde. Finally, my phone has a message notification tone. Lin 1111's depressed mood suddenly brightened up, and she quickly picked it up and read it. Busy. I know you are working, don't work too hard, I am struggling too. Then. It's like a stone sinking into the sea. Lin 1111 thought he had something to do at the company, so she obediently busied herself distributing flyers. But an hour later, when she sent another message, the other party still did not reply. This is a bit worrying. Lin 1111 began to feel nervous, but she still held it in, fearing that sending messages too frequently would not be good. Lin 1111 sent messages to Chu Xiao throughout the afternoon. The result is either no reply or a very brief and cold reply. Lin 1111 couldn't help feeling uneasy and started to have wild thoughts. This time she worked without the same enthusiasm and motivation as before. His beautiful eyebrows drooped, the corners of his mouth flattened, and there was no light in his eyes. What's wrong? Did I do something wrong? So the uncle ignored her? So sad, so uncomfortable, so heartbroken. Lin 1111 just stood there blankly, feeling not only depressed but also a little aggrieved. The situation changed so much in just half a day. It was clearly morning and the uncle was sweetly riding a shared bike with me. At noon, the two chatted and laughed and had lunch together. But within just a few hours in the afternoon, his attitude changed completely. Why is this? Lin 1111 was puzzled and even began to wonder if the uncle had changed his mind and no longer liked her. This makes people guess randomly and completely uneasy, and they have no mood to work at all. At this time, she saw a big white figure waving at her, trying hard to make all kinds of funny poses. The cute doll image, coupled with clumsy movements. Lin 1111, who was originally depressed, couldn't help but laugh at the silly look. She smiled with dimples, raised her phone, took a 20-second video of Dubai, and then shared it with Chu Xiao. Still no news. Lin 1111 suddenly lost interest and had no motivation to distribute flyers. Even everything around me seemed to have lost its color. As we watched, she quickly wilted away like an evil ball. Sudden. The tall and cute Dubai walked straight towards Lin 1111 and hugged her without saying a word. This bold and abrupt behavior startled the people around him, and they all looked over curiously. Lin 1111 was even more confused and didn't react for a moment. But soon, she got angry. Rogue. Let me go. You are such a rude, impolite fellow. She pushed hard with her hands, her whole body stiffened, resistance written on her face, her actions expressing her plan. Even every pore exudes the aura of "don't touch me." Just as Lin 1111 was resisting fiercely, Dubai smiled softly and said, "Little cutie. It's me. It seems you've been working for a long time, handing out flyers. It must be hard work, right?" Hearing this, Lin 1111 was struck by lightning. The struggle and resistance stopped instantly. She raised her head and looked over with her bright eyes. This time, a double complex expression appeared on her beautiful face, surprise and astonishment. I saw the tall Dubai slowly taking off his hood, revealing a handsome and familiar smile. The sunlight shines on this angular face. That smooth skin, that high nose bridge, and those three-dimensional facial features. Everything is so perfect as a masterpiece of a Greek sculptor. This made Lin 1111 stunned for a moment. She just stood there, unable to do anything but stare blankly. "I learned this online last night. I want to try to be romantic." Chu Xiao smiled slightly and said, "How is it? Is the effect okay? From your expression, you seem a little dissatisfied." He raised his hand to his girlfriend's face and gently tucked a strand of stray hair behind her ear. This tiny movement woke Lin 1111 up. Looking at the face with beads of sweat on the forehead, the sweetheart who has been staying in the big white, making careful preparations and wanting to give himself a surprise. Lin 1111 felt a myriad of grievances surge into her heart in an instant, her nose felt sore, and she couldn't help but burst into tears. She was so moved that she cried. "Uncle. You are so bad. I'm not only satisfied, I'm also so surprised and so happy." Lin 1111 raised her soft little fist and patted Dubai's chest, laughing and crying. Just at this moment, Chu Xiao suddenly stretched out his arms, hugged his girlfriend tightly, and pulled her into his arms. Lin 1111 was completely stunned this time. The man had an exceptionally broad chest, strong arms, and most importantly, a gaze that was affectionate. This kind of close, almost shackled hug is so blushing and heart-pounding. Especially when the man's hands were pinching her waist, the strong smell of male hormones sprayed over her. Lin 1111, who had no experience and was as white as paper, felt inexplicably dry in the mouth. She could feel her heart beating rapidly, her face instantly turned red to her ears, and even swallowing became difficult. My girlfriend looked so shy, pretty and pure. From Chu Xiao's perspective, he also felt that something that had been suppressed for a long time was awakening in his body. "Uncle." Lin 1111's long eyelashes fluttered wildly, and she stammered, I like you. I want to be with you forever." She seemed to have used a lot of effort and lowered her head shyly after she finished speaking. This time Chu Xiao really couldn't control himself. He didn't say anything, but lifted his girlfriend's chin. Looking at those pink lips, I couldn't help but kiss them deeply. Tilder. The moment when the mouth is wrapped. Lin 1111's dark pupils suddenly widened, and then became brighter and brighter. "Uncle, he kissed me. Uncle, he likes me too. Uncle, he is expressing his love." This affirmative answer made her excited, and she hugged Chu Xiao tightly with her backhand. Although Lin 1111 didn't know how to kiss, she also tried her best to respond. This aroused Chu Xiao's feelings even more. He held the back of his girlfriend's head to make the kiss deeper. The two of them hugged each other in public, kissed passionately, and embraced each other sweetly and happily. Immerse yourself in the surroundings and everything seems to disappear. Until music started playing around. Your shallow smile is like plum jam. I tasted the mint flavor of your lipstick. It's sweet love that's so certain. Because of your every shy reaction. Your shallow smile is like plum jam. I love the wind blowing through your hair. Thick sweetness. Use happiness to weigh some collections. Take a photo with the sunset. The two of them finally came to their senses and quickly separated. Chapter 12. Do you like this romance? Lin 1111's pretty face flushed and her ears were burning with heat. Almost instantly, her face turned tomato color. My heart was beating like a drum and my breathing seemed to stop. This was her first kiss. Chu Xiao also smiled slightly. This BGM comes just in time. It's a bit vulgar. But you know what, there is really a minty taste at the corners of my girlfriend's mouth. There were many onlookers around who had witnessed this scene with their own eyes. Handsome man and beautiful woman, such a romantic and intimate kiss. Anyone who sees this will have a mouthful of dog food. Wow! How romantic! At first, I thought it was just an ordinary Baymax. It turns out this was a surprise he prepared for his girlfriend. What a thoughtful effort. I was so moved that I cried. That man is so handsome. When he took off his hood, I felt his face was shining. Yeah, he's the mature, manly handsome type, super attractive. That girlfriend is pretty too, her eyes are bigger than fat robbers, and she's taller too. The two look so good together, I'm so envious. Blessings and blessings, I love seeing this couple together. Hear everyone's discussion. Lynn 1111 felt even more embarrassed, but shy at the same time. There is more sweetness and happiness in my heart. It's okay. I'll stay with you. Chu Xiao noticed his girlfriend's embarrassment and held her hand tightly. The man's palms were broad, which made Lynn 1111 feel particularly safe. The two looked at each other and smiled knowingly. Then, Chu Xiao was standing in Westlake Park, handing out flyers with his girlfriend. Under the scorching sun, although he took off his hood, he was still wearing a plush white suit. So soon, sweat broke out. The slightly damp hair, sticking to his temples, gave the man a kind of battle-damaged beauty. Uncle, I think you're even more handsome. Lynn 1111 had asteroids in her eyes and said without disguising, I can't get enough of looking at it every day. I'm so lucky to have found someone like you. Talking and talking. She seemed to remember something and smiled triumphantly again. Chu Xiao asked. What are you grinning about? Lynn 1111's eyebrows curved and she said in a sweet voice, it's the first time I see you in a coffee shop. I fell in love with you at first sight. Luckily I took the initiative to ask for his phone number, otherwise he would have been robbed. Hear this. Both of them seemed to be lost in memories. Fate is something truly indescribable. But soon, Lynn 1111 came to her senses and started working. I've already been delayed for quite a while, and now I have to work twice as hard to make up for it. Chu Xiao also held flyers and distributed them generously and proactively. Far away. Assistant Xiao Sun, who was driving the Rolls-Royce Cullinan, was envious and shocked. Is this really my boss? The big boss of Xiaolong Group actually accompanied his girlfriend to hand out flyers in the park. Who would dare to believe this? Then, he couldn't help but look at the beautiful figure beside Chu Xiao. This girl is so lucky. The boss is a rare talent among men. Countless celebrities, daughters of presidents, and princesses of European royal families dreamed of being close to him, but all of them failed. How could such an outstanding person, a man who is so rich that he can rival a country, be with a girl from an ordinary family? Little girl, you must have saved the galaxy in your previous life. The speed at which the two of them distributed flyers was indeed very fast. Not long. Lynn 1111 only had 3 pages left in her hand. When it's about to end, the corners of her mouth curled up into a bright and innocent smile. Uncle, I have good news for you. I got my salary today. I made a total of $3,000 this month. Lynn 1111 said happily, let's go, I want to treat Uncle to some good food. Okay. Chu Xiao readily agreed, but I'll go to the bathroom first. Using this as an excuse, he walked over to the Rolls-Royce. Assistant Xiao Sun hurried over and asked respectfully, Boss, where are you going? You go back first. Chu Xiao said calmly, if I need you, I will call you. After saying that, he turned around to greet his girlfriend who had finished her work. The two took a taxi first and returned to Lianjie Company in Koenigsegg Soho. After Lynn 1111 received her salary, many colleagues gathered around her and invited her to a dinner party. No, I have something else to do. She said this and ran away in a hurry, scaring the whole building. Uncle. Lynn 1111 took Chu Xiao's arm and said happily, let's go have a big meal. This way. My girlfriend walked lightly, and she couldn't hide the joy in her heart. Chu Xiao could see it. She really wanted to share the fruits of her labor with herself. Rare. Lynn 1111 took Chu Xiao to a buffet place that she thought was high-end. Standing in front of the revolving glass door, she said very seriously, Uncle, we are going to spend money well this time. Pick the expensive and good ones, I want to share them with you. I heard that the ingredients in this restaurant are carefully selected from all over the country. Chu Xiao looked at him and couldn't help but smile, okay. This so-called high-end place is located on the 5th floor of a shopping mall. It's not even as good as the place where her company's employees usually have dinner together. But that's not the point. This is the hard-earned money my girlfriend earned after working hard for a month. Her sincerity in wanting to give good things to herself is priceless. So as long as Lynn 1111 is happy, I am willing to have dinner here with her. Because of this deep love. So at this time, let us look at this ordinary restaurant. There was also a sudden difference in Chu Xiao's eyes. The waiter in uniform came over with a smile and said, "Welcome, please come in." "Okay." Lynn 1111 replied crisply, "There must be a vacant seat." "Yes, all ingredients in the store are self-service. This is a family buffet restaurant with many counters and a clean and hygienic environment." At this time, half of the seats were already full. Lynn 1111 chose a table by the window and put down her backpack. She pulled Chu Xiao and started to go to the self-service area to choose food and drinks. "Uncle, this sushi looks good, do you think we should try it?" "Uncle, is steak delicious?" "Uncle, I heard that matsutake is good for the body, let's get some of this." "Uncle, Haagen-Dazs's ice cream scoops are very expensive, but there is no limit on the quantity here." This was really Lynn 1111's first time coming to a restaurant like this. Faced with the dazzling array of rich and diverse food, there were so many choices that I didn't know what to take. Chu Xiao, on the other hand, was very organized and quickly helped the two of them get their things. Just as they returned to their original position and were about to eat. At this time, an uncertain voice sounded in the ears of the two. Chu Xiao. Chapter 13. What the hell? Is this your girlfriend? I heard someone calling me. Chu Xiao naturally turned around and saw a greasy middle-aged man with a Mediterranean face and a big belly. At first, he didn't recognize who it was. "I'm Zhao Wei." The greasy middle-aged man with a Mediterranean hair hurried in and introduced himself. "Does college still have an impact?" I was sitting in the front row of the class. He had almost finished eating and was about to leave with his friends, but he unexpectedly looked up and saw his old classmate. Because Chu Xiao has hardly changed since he was in school, except that he has become more mature and stable. So I recognized it at that time. "Master, who are you?" Lynn 1111 was stunned for a moment, obviously thinking it was strange that he knew her boyfriend at his age. These two people obviously look like they are more than 10 years apart, so they should have nothing in common. "Chu Xiao. The handsome one is called uncle, and the ugly one is called master, right?" He was a little amused and helpless at this moment. Because he remembered that the person who called him was actually his college classmate. As a greasy middle-aged man with Mediterranean hair, he didn't think there was anything wrong with the title. After all, his age was there. "You haven't changed your appearance at all over the years." He looked Chu Xiao up and down, with some envy in his tone. It seems that he is more handsome than before. In the years since graduation, Zhao Wei has made a lot of money and successfully become an executive of a listed company. He usually drives a BMW X5 worth 6 or 700,000 yuan when traveling, and is considered a successful person in the eyes of others. Although her career was going well, her figure was out of shape. He is 1.75 meters tall, but weighs 180 kilograms, with a very obvious watermelon belly. Because he worked very hard before, he looks older and has several forehead wrinkles. The once lush hair now only remains on the sides, while the middle has already fallen out with sweat. Why? Thinking back to those days, I was considered half-campus hunk. Not to mention his handsomeness and romantic charm. At least it is an existence that cannot be ignored in the crowd. But till now, the only thing I can show off is probably my career. Chu Xiao smiled and punched him. "You are not bad. Just look at your rich belly and you will know that you must be living a good life." He. The greasy Mediterranean guy patted his abdomen and said with a little pride, "It's because of drinking. I have a lot of social events at work. I can't help it." "How can you be so happy as a kid? Otherwise, how can you be so young?" He turned to look at Lynn 1111 with a look of surprise. "And your daughter, when did she grow up so big?" This guy must be about 1.75 meters tall, really tall, like a model. "She looks even better, she could be a star, but she doesn't look a lot like you." Chu Xiao. His classmate is still as talkative as before and doesn't even give himself a chance to interrupt. "I say you are very lucky. I also have a daughter who is 19 years old and is in college. But you can follow me. Not only is she fat, but she's also dark. I have to earn more money for her dowry. Otherwise, you may not be able to get married, which is really worrying." Little girl, what's your name? Where do you go to school? I'll introduce you two sisters to each other later. I listened to him talk for a long time. Lin 1111 couldn't help but interrupted. Master, you are wrong. I'm not the uncle's daughter. I'm his girlfriend. Said, to prove the relationship. She also made an intimate gesture by holding Chu Xiao's arm and leaning on his shoulder, and the look in her eyes was definitely the infatuation that only lovers can have. Clam? Girlfriend. The greasy Mediterranean guy opened his mouth wide, dumbfounded. The news was so shocking, like a thunderclap exploding overhead. It took him a long time to come back to his senses, and then he felt even more sad. Such a young girl who can squeeze water out of her. It turned out to be someone's girlfriend. This is so enviable. This guy Chu Xiao looks like he has no money and is wearing doll clothes. Maybe he works in an amusement park. But he actually found such a beautiful girlfriend. Where is justice in this world? Oh, you are so lucky, you were liked by all the girls in the school when you were in college. The greasy Mediterranean guy sighed. As a result, so many years have passed. He is also popular with girls, especially such young girls. Right, sorry. The greasy Mediterranean man collected his thoughts and apologized quickly. My eyes are blurry. Chu Xiao was very outstanding when he was in college. The girls who were chasing him lined up from the school gate to the dormitory building. Now that you have added a more mature charm, it's normal to attract young girls like you. Lin 1111 felt proud when she heard this. Of course. My uncle is so handsome, considerate and romantic. She held on even tighter, fearing that someone else would snatch Chu Xiao away. Such tension and care made the Mediterranean greasy man really envious. My wife is old and ugly, but my girlfriend's face is full of collagen and she is just in college. We are all middle-aged people, but there is such a big difference in how we live our lives. Chu Xiao looked at his college classmate confidently and calmly. You are not bad either. No, I'm just messing around, managing a department in the company. What about you? My fight was just a small one, not worth mentioning. There must be many hidden talents in our class. Chu Xiao said with a smile. Hey, now that you mention that, I suddenly remembered something. The greasy middle-aged man took out his phone and looked at it. There will be a college reunion in a few days. I didn't hear from you before, so I had no place to notify you. It's God's will that we meet here today. You must attend. This is the most important gathering after graduation. Even those classmates who went abroad have come back. Seeing him say that, Chu Xiao thought about it and agreed. Okay. Then leave me your contact information. Tell me the exact address and time. I'll make the arrangements and I'll definitely go when the time comes. I heard there was a class reunion. Lin 1111, who loves their hustle and bustle, also volunteered. Uncle, I want to go too. It's been so many years since you graduated, the party must be lively. And I want to see your classmates, so please let me join you. Because she liked Chu Xiao, she really wanted to know everything about him. This kind of class reunion is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Hard to say. I can also hear many stories about the uncle from his college classmates. Lin 1111 was very excited at the thought of getting to know her sweetheart better. Sure. The greasy middle-aged man invited. Family members are allowed to bring along at this class reunion. I guess some of my female classmates might take care of kids. It's so nice to see my girlfriend so happy. Chu Xiao patted her head lovingly, smiled and agreed. Okay. If you want to go, go ahead. After it was decided, the greasy middle-aged man Zhao Wei did not stay any longer and politely said that he would see him in a few days. But wait until you walk out of the restaurant and separate from your friends. He immediately took out his phone excitedly and at everyone in the class group. Classmates. Guess who I just met? Chu Xiao, our school hunk. This boy has a very pretty girlfriend. That look is simply amazing. I'm not exaggerating, even female celebrities don't look that pretty. Chapter 14 Uncle, you have me from now on. When the greasy middle-aged man Zhao Wei left, Chu Xiao and Lin 1111 then started to eat. Uncle, this tastes great, try it. After enjoying the deliciousness of the steak, the girlfriend took a big piece of it for him as if she had found a treasure, and then looked at it eagerly. Good. Chu Xiao smiled and nodded, then opened his mouth and ate the meat. It's really good. Yeah. Lin 1111 stared at him intently. She was happier watching the uncle eat than she was enjoying herself. And as soon as Chu Xiao finished eating, he immediately picked up another piece for him. You eat too, don't just give it to me. Chu Xiao rubbed his girlfriend's face lovingly, be good. Lin 1111 then continued working, but soon discovered new treasure. Then. Uncle, this mushroom is not bad either. Uncle, have some soup to warm your stomach. Uncle, this shrimp is the biggest. As long as she thinks something is delicious, it will appear in double the amount on Chu Xiao's plate. I have to say. Although my girlfriend is not very old, she is very caring. This was not something she was good at, but an instinctive action driven by true love. Chu Xiao was indeed moved. After being single for many years, this is the first time a woman can enter my heart. He was not idle either, helping Lin 1111 choose a lot of nutritious food. So the people in the restaurant saw this scene. There was a couple. They could obviously eat their own food, but they chose to pick food for each other, and when they were deeply in love, they would even feed each other. This kind of sweetness is the purest form of love. It really makes everyone envious. Uncle, the fish you chose is really tender. Lin 1111 puffed out her cheeks and ate like a cute hamster. If you like it, have more. Chu Xiao pushed the other plate in front of his girlfriend. But just as Lin 1111 stretched out her chopsticks, the phone on the table rang. Mom, what's wrong? 1111, Xiao phone is back from abroad. He's on a flight at 8 o'clock tonight. Go pick him up. Who is Xiao phone? Lin 1111 looked puzzled. What does his coming back have to do with me? Ouch. Lin's mother was almost irritated by her daughter. It's that elite returnee. I've told you several times, why can't you even remember my name? He joined Xiaolong Group right after graduation. He has a promising future and is a great blind date partner. When Lin 1111 heard this, she raised her voice unconsciously. No. Mom, I told you, I have a boyfriend. We are having dinner together now. After saying. She hung up the phone angrily. Next. Lin 1111 began to feel depressed. She was no longer as lively and happy as before. She picked up the food with chopsticks and ate it bit by bit in a listless manner. Finally, dinner was finished. The two walked hand in hand on the street, and the atmosphere was a bit depressing. Chu Xiao knew that his girlfriend was in a bad mood, so he held her hand tightly. It would definitely be inappropriate to ask proactively at this time. But if the other party is willing to talk, he is willing to listen. After some time, Lin 1111's mood improved a lot, and she also felt it necessary to tell her boyfriend. After all, the two of them were going to live together in the future, and she didn't want to hide anything. Uncle. You heard it just now. It was my mother who called. She always forces me to go on blind dates because the guy is very good, an elite overseas returnee who works for a large company. I've told her I have a boyfriend, but she prefers the one with better financial conditions. My mother is not a bad person by nature. It has been very hard for her to raise me all these years. She is a bit realistic and materialistic. Well, she has suffered losses in the past, so she wants me to find someone with better conditions so that at least I won't suffer losses in the future. As Lin 1111 spoke, she turned her head to look at the uncle, fearing that he would be unhappy or have some thoughts. Unexpectedly, Chu Xiao was very calm and said with a smile, "It's okay, I understand. This is human nature. It's normal for her to have this mentality because she has suffered so much. So mothers hope their daughters can find someone with good conditions so that they don't have to worry too much." Lin 1111 thought her boyfriend would be resistant, but she didn't expect him to be so open-minded. That's great. How about I take you to meet my mother someday? She suggested, it's only a matter of time. I think my mother will like you after some actual contact. Chu Xiao nodded, sure, you can arrange the time. The two continued walking forward. Lin 1111 suddenly seemed to remember something and stopped. Uncle. I don't think I've heard you talk about your parents yet. Are they also in Hangzhou? Chu Xiao's shining black eyes dimmed for an instant, but soon returned to normal. It was rare for him to look so depressed, but he still smiled and said, I lost contact with my parents when I was 5 or 6 years old. So, I grew up in an orphanage. So by comparison, at least you can still feel the mother's love. What? Lin 1111's eyes suddenly widened. She didn't expect that her boyfriend had no parental protection at such a young age. She felt extremely distressed, and immediately hugged Chu Xiao, comforting him, "Uncle. The past is in the past, and you have it in the future. I will treat you well, and we will definitely be happy." Chu Xiao smiled slightly, and hugged his girlfriend tightly in his arms. Yeah. The two of them hugged each other intimately like this, and it was a long time before they reluctantly let go. After this exchange of family background, their relationship is deeper and closer than before. Therefore, we walked on the street for a long time and didn't want to separate. But you have to go back eventually. The two of them stayed together until very late, and this time they parted temporarily while hugging and kissing each other. That evening, when Lin 1111 returned home, she saw her angry mother. "You've really grown wings." Lin's mother started by accusing, "I asked you to pick up that elite returnee. Not only did you refuse, you also went to have dinner with others." "Mom," Lin 1111 also argued, "I told you that I have a boyfriend. If there is, then break up. How can he compare with others? I am doing this for your own good. You say it's for my own good every day, but have you ever asked me what I like?" Lin 1111, who has always been filial, behaved out of character this time. Her excited mother had a big argument and threatened, "I will bring my boyfriend back in a few days." Mother Lin sneered, "Okay, I want to see what kind of person he is. It'll make you feel like you've been drugged and you won't listen to me anymore." They ignored the good returnees and just wanted to follow him. After saying that, he slammed the door shut and left. At the same time, Chu Xiao also took a bus back home. "I spent the whole day with my girlfriend and time passed so quickly." He had just sat down on the sofa and was about to pick up his phone to check his email. Suddenly the phone rang. The moment he saw the number, Chu Xiao's heart suddenly beat faster. There should be progress in the investigation. He immediately swiped the screen to answer the call. "Really?" An excited voice came. "Mr. Chu, your family has been found. Chapter 15. My sister is missing and I can't find her." In an instant, Chu Xiao held his breath, and even the hand holding the phone began to tremble. The other end of the phone continued. "After our extensive search and confirmation, you have a sister who runs a noodle shop in Linen next door. Your father has unfortunately passed away, and your mother lives in the country." Chu Xiao listened quietly. "I understand." After hanging the arc, he just sat there, looking at the ground with complicated thoughts. The floodgates of memories were opened. Time seemed to flow back to the past, when he was 4 or 5 years old. "I heard there were fun things to do at the market in town, so I asked to go with my parents." Chu's mother, who loved her son, naturally agreed. So, the family of 4 happily took a bus to the town. That day was an experience Chu Xiao would never forget. He saw a wide variety of goods, ate candies that he never saw on weekdays, and bought a toy car. But just when everyone was happiest, the performing team separated the family. Chu Xiao just watched his parents and sister disappear. He ran in fear, shouting and wiping his tears. But it doesn't help. The downtown area was crowded with people, but there was not a single familiar face. From then on, Chu Xiao never saw his family again. The only souvenir left is the toy car. Maybe we should go check it out. Chu Xiao collected his thoughts, looked up at the ceiling, and muttered to himself in a complicated tone. The next day, the sky in the east was just beginning to turn pale. Chu Xiao woke up naturally, got up, packed up and prepared to leave. The temperature outside was still a little cool, but his heart was extremely hot. "Because I can't be with my girlfriend today, I have to send her a message to tell her, otherwise she will definitely worry and start to have all kinds of thoughts." Chu Xiao took out his cell phone and quickly sent a message. 1111, I have something to do today, so I can't accompany you. Be good." After that, Chu Xiao didn't even call his assistant, but drove a relatively low-key Layer business car alone to Linen City. According to information from the survey company, he quickly followed the navigation and found the breakfast shop. It is located in a dilapidated residential building, with an area of only 5 square meters and no sign. In the window stood a cardboard board with the word ramen written on it in black pen. It looks very shabby and simple. At this time, a couple was working hard. The woman was out of shape, her hair had turned grey, and her outstretched hands were covered in calluses and wrinkles, drier than a dead tree root. Although her appearance had changed drastically, Chu Xiao still recognized her at a glance. This was his sister. The scene before him made his feet seem to be fixed to the ground, unable to move at all. Chu Xiao remembered that his sister was only 10 years older than him, which meant she was only 47 years old now. But the person in front of him looked like he was in his 60s. His face is full of wrinkles and weathered, his back is hunched, and he looks very old. Chu Xiao's nose suddenly felt sore and his eye sockets swelled and ached. It is said that men don't shed tears easily, but he just hasn't reached the point of being heartbroken. He recalled that when he was a child, his mother was busy with farm work and it was his sister who raised him. My sister always saves the most delicious food for herself, and then picks up the leftovers after he finishes eating. If Chu Xiao eats it all, then his sister will be hungry. Therefore, the Chu family has 2 children. The younger brother is plump and strong, while the taller sister is thin and slender. His sister would tell him stories, play games with him, and catch insects to amuse him despite her fear. Those seemingly distant scenes now appear clearly before our eyes, making us sigh. Young man. Chu Xiuhong saw Chu Xiao in a daze in front of the door and thought that he had encountered some difficulties and had no money to eat. She was so kind that she immediately went to the kitchen and got a bowl full of slim meat, which was topped with white radish and a few beef slices. You must be hungry, eat it while it's hot. Tell me if it's not enough, don't be embarrassed. I'm busy now. There's a small stool at the door. You can sit on it. Chu Xiao took it naturally, and was greeted by a familiar smell. His hands were trembling slightly as he sat on the stool holding the noodles, then picked up the noodles with chopsticks and put them into his mouth. It smells so good. As soon as the noodles entered his mouth, Chu Xiao's eyes felt a little sore. This is the taste of childhood. It's not particularly delicious, but it has a different flavor. My sister made it herself, the taste is unique and it's full of love. My dearest family member is back, real and healthy, appearing before my eyes. This is not a dream. This exciting fact made Chu Xiao keep putting noodles into his mouth, as if this would help him experience the reality more deeply. As he ate the hot noodles, he couldn't help but burst into tears and slid down his cheeks. Mixed with noodles, it is salty and sweet. He found his sister, he found his family, he was no longer an orphan. In this world, I have more concerns and motivation. Soon Chu Xiao finished their whole bowl of noodles, not even the soup or the cilantro and chopped green onions were left. Don't worry, don't worry. Chu Xiuhong thought he hadn't eaten for several days, and kept comforting him, there's still food in the pot. Eating too fast is bad for your stomach and intestines. The body is the capital of revolution. Her husband, Jing Qinghua, also put down his gun and came over with concern. Young man, what's wrong? Everyone has difficulties sometimes. Talk to me if you want. Although my ability is limited, I will help you to the best of my ability. Life is not easy, but sometimes with a little help, the hurdle can be overcome. Chu Xiao looked at his brother-in-law, who was also old and looked like a little old man, and a lump suddenly formed in his throat. His heart was warm and touched. This brother-in-law and sister look like a perfect couple. They both have kind eyes and speak warmly and enthusiastically. Even though his own life is so difficult, he is still willing to help strangers. Sure enough, my sister and her husband are both kind and honest people. Although they are ordinary, they have the most pure and sincere hearts in the world. Chu Xiao didn't say anything, just had a blank look in his eyes. Chu Xiuhong became even more worried, afraid that something might happen to him. Could this be a manifestation of depression? She was not in the mood to do business, so she went back to their house, turned off the gas on the stove, and then handed over the cardboard. On the other side it says, closed. Chu Xiuhong's husband also supports this. Now 2 people surrounded Chu Xiao. Young man. Chu Xiuhong half squatted down and asked in an earnest tone, what difficulties have you encountered? Tell your aunt that I will definitely help you if I can. Don't hold it in. It's easy to get stuck in a rut if you're alone. Her old man also patted Chu Xiao on the shoulder. You look about the same age as my child. Young people working outside nowadays are under a lot of pressure. Who else is there in your family? Why did you come here alone? Both of them were running around in a panic, looking at him with concern. Chu Xiao then looked at the 2 of them and spoke softly. My sister is missing and I can't find her. Chapter 16 Finally found you. Chu Xiuhong was startled. You and your sister have lost contact. Yes. Chu Xiao stared at her closely. She is the person closest to me. She was very kind to me when I was a child. Chu Xiuhong was immediately touched. She has been through a lot and doesn't easily get emotional, so she feels a little sad. She looked into the distance with dim eyes and said sadly, "Actually, I also have a younger brother. He is 10 years younger than me, very cute and smart. In the first month of that year, he wanted to go to town to play, so my parents agreed." Chu Xiao seemed to be lost in her memories until the story was finally finished. She could no longer control herself and shed silent tears. However, we shouldn't make things worse at this time and make the young man even more sad. Chu Xiao quickly raised her hand and wiped her eyes, then comforted her, "It's okay. We will find them all. I believe your sister is living well somewhere, and she is also trying hard to find you. You will definitely be reunited as a family and never be separated again. Because that's what I insist on and what I firmly believe in." It turns out that Chu Xiao has been looking for her younger brother all these years. This restaurant is where Chu Xiao got lost. She worked hard, saved some money, and bought this small restaurant, and has been running it ever since. The purpose is to be afraid that their younger brother will not be able to find them when he comes back. This is Chu Xiao's thought and the driving force that supports her efforts and persistence. Her husband Jing Qinghua is also a good man. He clearly had a good future abroad, with a more respectable and more profitable life. But for his wife's wish, he was willing to accompany her through hardships. The two of them got up early and went to bed late to run the breakfast shop. It was very hard work and they didn't make much money, but they still opened it almost every day. The neighbors all knew about this and had advised them against it. Don't wait any longer. If this can happen, it will be a miracle. Isn't it? When we got lost, we were so young, how could we remember it? If we could find it, we would have met by now. This place is poor and shabby, there are no customers. If we change the address of the same breakfast shop, we can make more money. We understand your feelings, but the reality is cruel and we have to face it. Yeah, stop making reckless efforts and move to a good place as soon as possible. You are old now and it is time to enjoy your life. Chu Xiao told these sad stories in order to encourage the young man in front of her. Thank you for the comfort. Chu Xiao wiped his tears and continued, "But, I have found her now." Chu Xiao was stunned, obviously not expecting this to happen. But she soon became happy. That's good, where is it? After being separated for so many years, we can still find each other. It's such a great joy. Call her over to have breakfast together. Aunt and uncle are treating us today. Her husband Jing Qinghua was also beside her, smiling so hard that his wrinkles deepened. Yes. Your aunt's ramen noodles are a craft passed down from generation to generation, even though they can't be sold at a high price. Everyone who has eaten here speaks highly of it, and we have many repeat customers. My mixed vegetables are also excellent. Since we have met by chance, let's celebrate today. I hope that with your good luck, we can also find our lost brother. Chu Xiao felt even more sad when he heard this, and couldn't help but say, "Sister, I'm Xiao. Quiet. It's unusually quiet. Time seems to have stood still." Chu Xiao felt as if she had an electric shock and her heart skipped a beat. She just stared at Chu Xiao, unable to believe it. This was definitely a joke. I was just feeling sorry for her. How could someone so young and so outstanding be his younger brother? But Chu Xiao still felt warm in her heart. Thank you. I recognize this brother. I really wish you were my brother, because you look a bit like him. It's just a pity. You are too young. He is not as handsome as you, nor does he look as promising as you. Chu Xiao grabbed her hand and said, "Sister. I really am Xiao. Do you remember? When I was little, I used to have knee pains and cried so hard that I couldn't sleep. No matter how our mom coaxes me to sleep, it doesn't work. So you just rub my feet and coax me to sleep." My favorite story is about the 3 little pigs. The more Chu Xiao listened, the more the moon appeared in her eyes. She stretched out her dry hand and touched Chu Xiao's face with trembling hands. "Yes. Your ears grow backwards, and old people say you are blessed. My brother, it's really you." Chu Xiao finally recognized him at this time, and instantly burst into tears and became very emotional. Little owl. How come you're still so young? If I were to walk down the street, I wouldn't even recognize him. Her husband Jing Qinghua smiled innocently. Ha, that's great. Come on, let's go back and talk. We won't be opening the store today. We must have a good meal at home. The two of them burst into laughter and began to clean up the store happily. Chu Xiao naturally joined in the fun, quickly putting things in order, then lowered the rolling door and locked it. Home isn't far away. Chu Xiao smiled and said, "It will only take 10 minutes for us to walk." The three of them took many twists and turns and soon arrived at the place. The house was also very shabby. A single room of more than 70 square meters was divided into 3 bedrooms. Chu Xiao took out her cell phone and happily called her child, "Come back for dinner. I found your uncle. He's at home." One day of hard work is not enough, being with your loved ones is important. She gave birth to 2 children, a boy and a girl. Dabao Jingmeiyu works in a supermarket in Linen. Xiaobao Jingsiki is in high school. At this time, Jing Qinghua ran to the inner cabinet, took out some money and prepared to go out to buy groceries. Choose the good ones and buy them. Chu Xiao warned, "Don't think about the money. I heard that the food in the vegetable market on South Street is very fresh. Don't worry, Xiao Xiao is the little brother you've been thinking about day and night for many years. This meal will certainly be grand." Chu Xiao originally told them not to spend too much money, saying that as long as they could be reunited and eat anything, it would be fine. But my sister firmly disagreed, and I couldn't refuse her kindness. He had no choice but to let them go. After all, this is a token of my sister and brother-in-law's love. Not long. Jing Qinghua came back carrying several plastic bags containing meat, shrimp and vegetables. I bought all the expensive ones and spent more than 300 yuan for one trip. Dabao and Erbao also rushed back in a hurry. They had no sense of strangeness at all. They surrounded me enthusiastically when they met me and called me uncle affectionately. This is really the case of blood being thicker than water, an instinctive closeness. See this scene. Chu Xiao's eyes turned red again, and she was happily busy washing vegetables and cutting meat in the kitchen. Not long. Old-fashioned cramped room. The family ate the hot pot. Chapter 17. You call this LaFerrari? At the dinner table. As an elder sister, Chu Xiao's eyes are now filled with only this lost and found brother. "Xiao Xiao, eat this fat beef, it's nutritious." "Xiao Xiao, you are still the same as before, especially fond of eating mugwort stems." "Xiao Xiao, these shrimps are high in protein, so you won't get fat even if you eat more." "Little owl, give me some duck blood." As the old saying goes, you are what you eat. She kept picking up food for Chu Xiao, her love for him evident in her words, fearing that her brother would not have enough to eat. After a while, Chu Xiao's bowl was full. My brother-in-law Jing Qinghua, because he is not good at expressing himself verbally, just smiled innocently on the side. But Chu Xiao could clearly feel the kindness and affection in his eyes. Their 2 children kept staring at their new uncle and whispered, "Dabao Jingmeiyu, I suspect he is a liar, otherwise how could he be so young and handsome? He looks like he is in his early 20s at most." The fat boy Jingsiki didn't think so. "Sister, you think too much. Our family is very poor. If a liar enters their house, he will cry. What's so good about this?" Zheng Meiyu nodded, thinking that what her brother said made sense. She nodded in agreement, and then her eyes began to revolve around Chu Xiao, but then again, this uncle is really handsome. As expected, adolescent girls focus on different things than their younger brothers, and they pay more attention to appearance. Then, she also followed her mother's example and picked up a piece of carrot for her uncle. This is rich in carotene. Chu Xiao couldn't help but laugh. The meal was a great pleasure, even though the place was small and the ingredients were very ordinary. But he felt particularly happy and warm. My sister and brother-in-law asked a lot of questions and were very concerned about my brother's condition and whether he was doing well over the years. That evening, Chu Xiao naturally did not leave and lived in his sister's house. But because the place is small and there are few rooms, how to live becomes a problem. However, before the adults could say anything, the fat boy Jingsiki took the initiative to offer his room. "Uncle, you sleep in my bed. It's spacious and comfortable, and the mattress underneath is very thick." Chu Xiao quickly refused. How can that be possible? He was embarrassed to let the junior sleep on the sofa, so he lived in a room alone. "It's all right." Jingsiki puffed out his chest and patted it. "I'm tough and can fall asleep anywhere I lie down." Chu Xiao also agreed. Just let him sleep on the sofa. Children need more exercise and more hardship. Chu Xiao still felt that it was inappropriate and refused several times. But my sister's family insisted that being filial to elders is the right thing to do, and why should the little brat be so pampered, as he has happy days ahead? So he had no choice but to agree. This is what happens when the family conditions are poor and there are few rooms. Whenever there are guests, someone has to sleep on the sofa. Afterwards, my elder sister Chu Xiao came and brought some clean bedding. This family really talks less and does more. They are very real and caring. Although his own conditions are not that good, he treats Chu Xiao sincerely. Chu Xiao was very touched. He lay on the bed, looking at the walls around him that were simply scraped white, feeling mixed emotions. When I had no news about my sister, I just wanted to find her and meet her as soon as possible. But now that we are reunited, I didn't expect that their family lives so poorly. He took a deep breath, looked at the sky outside thoughtfully, and then made a decision secretly. Now that I have found my family, I will never let my sisters who have treated me so well suffer any injustice again. We should try our best to help them escape poverty and live a better life. And at the same time, in the small room on the other side, my elder sister Chu Xiao was also tossing and turning and couldn't fall asleep. She and her husband Jing Qinghua are worried about him. Why is Xiao Xiao still single? He is already 37 years old. I saw he came here in a van. Maybe his conditions weren't very good, so it was hard to find him. Now that the family is reunited, we can't just ignore it. You have the final say. I support whatever you want to do. Then tomorrow is a good day off. I'll take my brother to the street to buy some clothes and pants. We've been separated for so many years, and I feel really guilty and sorry for him. Oh, why are you crying again while you are talking? I can't help it. He was just a child when he went missing, and now he's grown up. He must have suffered a lot in the meantime, so I want to make it up to him as much as possible. Cheng, I support you. Then let's take him to the mall to buy some clothes tomorrow. After the two of them had discussed it, they quickly went to bed so that they could get up early the next day. The next day, after eating rice porridge and steamed buns, Chu Xiao kindly suggested, Xiao Xiao, your brother-in-law and I are taking a break today, let's go shopping in the mall. She was actually looking for an excuse to take Chu Xiao shopping. Okay. Chu Xiao naturally agreed, take Dabao and Xiaobao with you. When the two children heard that they were going to the mall, they cheered happily, yes. The family of 5 packed up their things and went out quickly. My brother-in-law Jing Qinghua walked in front, preparing to drive the old car parked downstairs. This old Citroën sedan is not only shabby and peeling, but also has very small space. See this situation. Chu Xiao suggested, it's too crowded, drive my car. Jing Qinghua paused for a moment, thinking that there were many people here and that the van was really big, so he agreed, okay. Then go ahead, we'll wait for you here. Chu Xiao said he would be back soon, and then walked away with his long legs. Looking at my uncle's back, Jing Siki, a fat boy who has always liked cars and studied them, asked curiously, Dad, does my uncle have another car? I really didn't expect that. What brand of car does he drive? Jing Qinghua, an honest and ordinary person, had no idea where he was from. He could only reply based on his impression, it's a very unique van. Oh, bread. After hearing this, the fat boy Jing Siki immediately lost interest, it's probably a cheap brand. In his impression, this uncle was very young, did not dress ostentatiously, and probably did not have much money. So the car you drive can't be any better. But it doesn't matter, as long as you can sit on it, it's just a means of transportation. Chu Xiao also thought so, but she didn't care. As long as her brother was healthy and well, that was enough. But very quickly, a black business car drove over. The unique family-style spindle-shaped front face is particularly eye-catching, and the chrome-plated edges make it look exquisite and luxurious. The headlights on both sides are long and narrow, giving off a strong and tough aura. This is a very recognizable car, and it is a more upscale MPV than the price-crazy Toyota Air. Oh shit! The fat boy Jing Siki was stunned. He felt as if his head had been hit by a heavy hammer and was buzzing. This is LaFerrari, a top-of-the-line commercial vehicle. It's worth more than 2 million. Can this be called a van? Chapter 18 My Rich Uncle. Hearing my son say this, Chu Xiao and Jing Qinghua were both shocked. This seemingly inconspicuous van they thought was actually worth more than 2 million. This is too exaggerated. What a concept, 2 million. This is an astronomical figure for them. Debao Mayun also opened her eyes wide in surprise, her face full of disbelief. They all stared at the car in a daze, and for a moment they completely forgot to move. Chu Xiao had no choice but to honk their horn, then lowered the window and said, "Sister, brother-in-law, get in the car." Tilde. Chu Xiao agreed mechanically, then she remembered to move her legs. Their whole family came over cautiously. Especially the elder sister, she got into the car carefully, for fear of dirtying Chu Xiao's car. My brother-in-law did the same thing, and he pulled his clothes embarrassedly. The funniest thing is the fat boy Siki. At this moment, he seems to have turned into a student, sitting stiffly with his hands on his legs, not daring to touch anywhere at all. Just be casual, don't take the car seriously, nothing is more important than you. Chu Xiao said in a gentle voice, things are meant to serve people. No matter how expensive something is, it has a price, but family love cannot be measured by money. His words made his sister and her family feel less nervous. But no one let go immediately, but their sitting posture became a little more relaxed. Chu Xiao asked for the address of the best department store in the area, and then drove there according to the navigation. After entering the mall, originally, Chu Xiao wanted to buy some clothes and pants for her younger brother. But now the situation is completely reversed. He took his sister and brother-in-law together and bought 10 sets of clothes for each of them from head to toe. The shoes alone cost more than 3,000 yuan per pair. Chu Xiao thought that this price was too luxurious. But she couldn't resist her brother's enthusiasm and insisted on buying it. But I have to say that it is really comfortable to wear. It is said to be made of real leather and has a special design that is completely in line with human ergonomics. Sister, at your age, you should wear some jewelry. The salesperson at the counter is a shrewd man with sharp eyes and very observant eyes. She saw that Chu Xiao was rich, so she flattered Chu Xiao, who was dressed simply beside her, and began to recommend. This gold bracelet from the Heritage series is perfect for you, with weights ranging from 20 to 50 grams. In the end, although Chu Xiao tried her best not to, but Chu Xiao still bought her an ancient gold bracelet worth 60,000 yuan. Brother-in-law, men can't look at jewelry. I'll choose a watch for you. Chu Xiao walked towards the Rolex store. This brand is more retro and classic. So, a shopping spree began. Chu Xiao and her husband were dizzy and confused. The whole process felt like I was dreaming, very dazed. Debao Mayun was very envious when she saw that her mom and dad both had a lot of things. Uncle, I want an iPhone 13 Pro, can I buy? What 13? Just go for 14. Chu Xiao took his niece to the Apple store and directly chose the Gold Pro Max with 512GB maximum memory. The fat boy Siki felt itchy when he saw his sister get what she wanted. He asked tentatively, Uncle, I want to buy the latest game console. Purchase. Chu Xiao waved his hand and bought the Stem Deck, which was said to be the most powerful handheld game console in the world, for 38,000. At this moment, Debao and Xiaobao were extremely happy. They each held their own treasure and looked at Chu Xiao with admiration. My uncle is really rich. I feel like I'm dreaming. A game console worth over 30,000 yuan really feels different to the touch. Me too, now that I have an iPhone, I no longer have to envy others. Thank you, my handsome uncle, for the pen refill. Compared to the joy of the two children, only Chu Xiao looked a little worried as she had spent too much today. My brother has spent most of his savings over the years. At this time, everyone's hands were full of shopping bags. Seeing that they had bought almost everything and didn't need anything, Chu Xiao led his sister and her family out of the mall. Along the way, all the passers-by couldn't help but look over with envy and whispered, "Whose family is this? I don't know. I bought so much in one shopping trip. Those clothing brands are all high-end, and any piece costs thousands of dollars. I saw the Rolex box. The starting price is 80,000 or 90,000 yuan. Identification completed. He is a nouveau riche. He is so rich that he has no humanity. I'm so jealous and envious. When will I be able to afford it? Brother, go back and take a shower and go to bed. Dreams can contain all kinds of things." Chu Xiao has become completely immune to these discussions. He only wanted to be good to his sister's family. After getting in the car, Chu Xiao seemed to have thought of something, and turned to look at Dabaojing Mayun, Xiao Yun. Come to think of it, Uncle hasn't seen you guys in all these years, and hasn't given you any New Year's money. You're working now, so it should be quite far from home. Come on, I'll give you a car as a New Year's gift. Zheng Meiyu, who was already beyond imagination today, was even more dumbfounded after hearing this. Chu Xiaohong's face changed drastically, and she quickly refused. I can't buy any more. This trip to the department store just now cost you a lot of money. Let's save some money. Dabaojing Mayun was also very sensible. Thank you, uncle, but I really don't want it. You just bought me an Apple phone, and I am very satisfied. Chu Xiao smiled slightly. It's okay. As he said this, he stepped on the accelerator and took his family directly to the largest automobile city in Linen City. Xiao Xiao, don't buy it. Chu Xiaohong felt bad all the way and kept trying to dissuade them. You've already spent so much money. Why buy a car for a child? No, turn around and go home. It's not easy for you to make money. There are many places to spend money in life. Besides, you are still single, so save it for your wedding. I appreciate your kindness, but you must not buy anything from me again. Chu Xiao knew his sister's good intentions, so he patiently waited for her to finish nagging before speaking. Sister, if you have 100,000 yuan, would you be willing to give me 10 cents? Chu Xiaohong didn't even hesitate and said as a matter of course, what do you mean 1 cent? I'm willing to give it to you. You are my brother, I will do my best to support you if you need me. Chu Xiao seemed to have expected this answer. That's it. I thought the same thing. Sister, don't worry. This little money is like spending only a dime for me. He said this modestly. In fact, my own financial situation is even more exaggerated. But of course Chu Xiao didn't say it. But this was enough to shock Chu Xiaohong's family. They opened their mouths again and again, trying to speak several times, but in the end they didn't know what to say. Spent so much money today. The young Chu Xiao actually said it was like spending only a dime. How huge must be the wealth he possesses? Now, Chu Xiaohong's family's understanding of the rich has been refreshed. Chapter 19. What fit? Just give me a Bentley. Soon, everyone arrived at the Auto City. Let's go, the salespeople are waiting inside. Chu Xiao didn't say anything and pulled his sister towards the Auto City. This time, Chu Xiaohong is forced to buy it even if she doesn't want to. The group quickly entered the gate. This is the largest Xinghong Auto City in Linen City, covering an area of 22,000 square meters. The main building is 6 stories high with a construction area of 18,000 square meters, covering all automobile brands on the market. There is also a new energy vehicle showroom on the 3rd floor. In the middle of the hall stands a purely imported 5.0T extended range Rover Genesis in Byron Bay blue with 22-inch blade wheels. Zheng Siki, a fat boy who has always liked cars, suddenly became excited. Uncle, this is the Land Rover Genesis. This is the first time I've seen it with my own eyes. He ran over quickly and said, this car is so cool, and it has a very long body. There is also a shark fin on the side, which is a unique element of Land Rover. Chu Xiao patted the fat boy's head lovingly. There are a lot of cars here. After hearing what his uncle said, Zheng Siki reluctantly looked away. He looked around and found more brands. This showroom is so big, and there are so many cars. Dabaojing Meiyu was also excited, and the corners of her mouth were raised from the moment she entered the door. The thought of having a car to drive soon makes me happy. The little girl couldn't stop laughing with joy. Of course she didn't look at the expensive brands. After visiting several stores and choosing for a long time, Dabaojing Meiyu took a fancy to a Honda Fit, a cool 2-box car in cherry red, which cost a total of 80,000 yuan. This price is quite expensive for their family. Therefore, Zheng Maiyun looked at Chu Xiao cautiously and asked softly, Uncle, can I have this one? She was so cautious and timid, and it was obvious that she was a child from a poor family who had never spent much money. As a result, before Chu Xiao could reply, Chu Xiaohong quickly grabbed her daughter and angrily scolded her on the spot. What fit? 80,000 yuan? That's our family's annual income. You think your uncle's money came from the wind? It's too expensive, I can't buy it. I think the Wuling Hongguang is pretty good. It only costs 30,000 yuan. My neighbor Xiaoran bought one. Dabaojing Maiyun knew that what her mother said was right, but she really liked that car in her heart. She bit her lip and looked at her uncle with longing in her eyes. But I didn't expect it. Chu Xiao also frowned and said decisively, no. Zheng Meiyu was now completely deflated, and her mood instantly plummeted from the clouds to the bottom of the valley. Finished. There is absolutely no hope. My mother refused to let me buy it, and now my uncle also says no. This is her favorite car and she has been saving money to buy it. However, the sensible Zheng Meiyu didn't say anything, but just prepared to walk out the door obediently. Unexpectedly, Chu Xiao said, this car is too bad. Let's change it. How about a Bentley? Bentley has a convertible coupe called the Continental. It's pretty good and very suitable for girls to drive. Everyone present was dumbfounded. Chu Xiao and his wife looked confused. They didn't know that Bentley was a high-end car. Zheng Meiyun was also stunned. Bentley, it must be worth hundreds of thousands, right, uncle? Zheng Siki, the only one who knew a lot about cars, was so shocked that his breathing stopped. Oh my god. Fit directly turns into Bentley. He immediately replied, what do you mean by hundreds of thousands? The cheapest Bentley Continental costs 3 million. This car is very expensive, and I've only seen it in a short video online. Everyone was shocked, more shocked than ever before, their eyes widened. Chu Xiao waved her hands and said, no, no, no. She couldn't let her brother spend so much money just to buy a car for a child. No matter how rich you are, you can't spend it like this. It's really unnecessary. Dabao is still young, so it would be great for him to have a means of transportation. And the male salesperson who was responsible for receiving their family. He was quite enthusiastic at first, thinking that Chu Xiao was really here to buy a car, so he actively introduced it so that he could get commission money. Not only did he explain it in detail, he even planned to let the little girl get in the car to experience it for herself. But I didn't expect that after talking for a long time and until my mouth was dry, the other person finally said that the car was too bad and he wanted to buy a Bentley instead. Cut tilde. It's ridiculous to hear such big talk. He was immediately amused and his eyes almost rolled up to the sky, unable to conceal his disdain and sarcasm. You look young, but you speak so arrogantly. The male salesman grinned to his ears and said sarcastically, Bentley. There are no Bentleys for sale in the entire Linen City. I think you mentioned this brand on purpose. Then. He rolled his eyes slyly, pointed to the opposite side and said, but we do have luxury cars in our car city. For example, there's a Porsche store across the street. You can go and have a look. His cars are very expensive and good. My temple is too small to accommodate a big Buddha like you. Don't delay your purchase of a luxury car. Go over there quickly. Speaking of. He sat leisurely on the chair next to him, crossed his legs, and planned to watch the joke of Lord Chu Xiao. I told you not to show off. He came into my Honda store and just looked around without even talking about buying anything, and even brazenly clamored to buy a Bentley. Buy it for nothing. That car costs several million. How can a poor loser like you afford it? Day after day, I am not good at anything, but I am the best at bragging. But since this guy likes to show off, I'll point him to a store and see how you embarrass yourself later. Oh tilde. Chu Xiao stood there in a daze, feeling really embarrassed. He didn't expect that there was no Bentley store in Linen. It really seemed like he had money but nowhere to spend it. But there is a Porsche store. Tilde. How should I put it? Just barely. It can be opened all right. The male salesperson saw that Chu Xiao didn't move and stood there hesitantly. He became more certain of his thoughts, that this was the kind of person who liked to brag even though he had no money. Can't pretend anymore. Go out, turn left and walk to the end. There is a Wuling store over there. It costs tens of thousands of yuan. If you think this is expensive, there is a second-hand car market in the south of the city, which is an hour's walk away. You can buy one for 6,000 yuan. What he said was so harsh that the fat boy Jing Siki immediately became unhappy. What do you know? My uncle is rich. You're a car salesman, how can you be so contemptuous of others? But you're still working for someone else, but you talk like you're the boss. Who are you looking down on? Look at yourself in the mirror first. Chu Xiao was not interested in arguing with the salesperson. He hesitated for a moment, but still agreed, let's go and take a look. So, he took his family towards the Porsche. The male salesperson folded his arms and sneered, thinking, "Go ahead with gritted teeth. Then I'll go and see what's going on. Look how you come out covered in dirt." Chapter 20. My uncle is a distinguished 918 owner. Chu Xiao and his family quickly arrived at Porsche's 4S store. The sales here are also men, tall and thin, with very good attitude and manners. "Hello, boss. Welcome to Porsche. Our slogan is that only a Porsche can beat a Porsche." He politely invited Chu Xiao and others to choose, and introduced enthusiastically, "We are a luxury car brand under Volkswagen of Germany. We now have Macan, 718, Cayenne, Panamera, etc. in stock in the store. Whichever one you like, you can go in and test drive it." Debao and Jing Meiyu were a little reserved. After all, the car looked very high-end and must have cost at least 300,000 or 400,000 yuan. And when she walked up to the display board in front of the car and saw the market guide price clearly, she took a deep breath. 99, 8,000 yuan. Zheng Meiyu silently counted the decimal points in her mind. Tens, hundreds, thousands, and hundreds of thousands. That's right. It turned out to be 998,000, almost 1 million. Moreover, she had heard that all Porsche models had to cost hundreds of thousands of optional extras. If you add insurance, purchase tax, license plate fees, etc., it would be more than 1 million, right? Zheng Meiyu couldn't help but shiver, shook her head and left immediately. Can't afford it. Can't afford it. She wanted to see if there were any cheaper ones. As a result, I looked at all the cars on display in the showroom, and the lowest price was 565,000. That's too exaggerated. But Chu Xiao said in a relaxed tone, "Debao. Don't you like red? Look at this 911. It looks stylish and is suitable for girls to drive." The male salesperson standing nearby also gave a detailed introduction, saying that the car was a 2-door, 4-seater soft-top convertible. It has excellent comfort and strong controllability. In addition to the red one, there is also a pink one in the warehouse. That's it. Chu Xiao wanted to order this car, but his sister's family refused to agree. Chu Xiaohong was firm, "No, it's too expensive." Brother-in-law Jing Qingguo was also anxious, "Isn't it? Your sister didn't agree to the previous 80,000 yuan, and this one is almost 30 times more expensive." Debao Jing Maiyun declined, "Uncle, although I like it very much, I really can't buy it." The fat boy Jing Siki also refused, "The car is good, but the price is not good enough." Then, an interesting scene appeared. A young man wanted to buy a car from a salesperson, but his 4 family members strongly opposed it. I even wanted to pull him away. The Honda salesman who was watching the fun at the door wanted to laugh even more this time. Their whole family is a drama queen. This must be because they can't afford a car but are afraid of losing face. So I put on a fire and showed it to the salesperson and people around me. He shrugged and was about to leave. Unexpectedly, Chu Xiao said to the Porsche salesperson, "Well, how about this, then order that 718 for me." "Sir, we have 718 cars in stock. This car, including options and purchase tax, costs 800,000 yuan. Would you like to pay with your credit card now?" "No problem, go ahead and do it." Considering Debao's work, he had no choice but to make this decision. Otherwise, if you really insist on 911, you won't be able to buy a Porsche in the end. Although it is a little worse than the expected Bentley, the Porsche brand is also quite good. The family was stunned at first, but seeing that the fact was already confirmed and could not be changed, they all accepted it and began to rejoice. Sister Chu Xiaohong smiled helplessly and said, "You really spoiled a child." Debao Jing Maiyun even hugged Chu Xiao's arm and said excitedly, "I love you so much, uncle." Looking at the happy family, Chu Xiao also smiled from the bottom of his heart. Isn't the purpose of making money to see the smiles of the family and make them happy? This feeling is better than buying a car yourself. He handed the Global Gold card to the salesperson and asked him to pay. After a while, the male salesperson came back in fear and trepidation. "Hello, Mr. Chu. The system here has found that you are our distinguished 918 owner. So this time, I'll give you a 50% discount on your car purchase." Debao Jing Maiyun was puzzled and couldn't help asking, "What is 918? Why can't I see it in the exhibition hall?" Hearing the word 918, the salesman couldn't help but show a hint of pride on his face, and patiently answered, "It is a limited edition car of Porsche, the top model of the entire Porsche." It is also the highest industrial work of our Porsche. Our Porsche's greatest work. Currently, there is number 918 on display in the showroom in our entire Dragon country. Because it's so precious. Hearing this, everyone was stunned. Zheng Siki, a car enthusiast, immediately came out and explained with trembling lips, yes, yes, yes. 918, it is one of the 3 true legendary cars. Hearing my son say this, Chu Xiao became even more nervous and asked tentatively, how much does it cost? This 911 costs 2 million, so the 918 must be 3 or 4 million, right? The little fat man also hesitated and replied, if you want to land a new 918, it will cost at least 20 million. Boom. Chu Xiao and her family were dumbfounded. They felt as if a heavy bomb had been dropped on their heads and their heads were buzzing. A car costs 20 million. Oh my god. The fat boy Zheng Siki clenched his fists tightly, and his heart was already filled with turmoil. My own young uncle, how can he be called a rich man? This is clearly a super rich man. No, it should be the top tycoon type. Chu Xiao didn't take it seriously and said calmly, it's nothing. It's not a good car. I just bought one and started driving. He was telling the truth and was not being pretentious. He had made too much money over the years and there was nothing much to do alone. All you can do is buy cars and houses, and collect some antiques and artworks. And this Porsche 918 is really nothing compared to the Koenigsegg One, Pagani Zonda, Bugatti Chiron, and Apollo Sun Evo IE. This time, not only my sister's family was shocked. Everyone in the Porsche store, including salespeople and customers. They all looked at the young man with envy and whispered, damn. This must be the legendary ceiling for wealthy families. Buying a Porsche is like buying a bottle of water. Of course. A luxury car worth more than 20 million is not considered a good car in other people's eyes. From this, we can see that his daily spending must easily reach hundreds of millions. Boss, are you missing any accessories on your legs? Look at me. If you ask me, I can drive and do sonder, and I only work and don't eat. Boss, please consider hiring me. I don't need anything, so don't be so self-indulgent. I think the young master needs a maid, someone who is pretty, gentle, and knows how to serve. Chu Xiao listened expressionlessly, without saying a word. And at this time, the Porsche store manager had come out in person and treated them as VIPs, inviting them to a special lounge and providing them with fine tea and water, fearing that they would be neglected. The clerk in charge of sales was processing the procedures as quickly as possible. He didn't expect to be able to sell a car so easily. It was a pleasant surprise. In addition, what surprised him even more was that after so many years in the industry, he finally met the owner of a Porsche 918. It didn't take long for the male salesperson to finish it, and then handed the key to Debao Jing Mayun with both hands. Ms. Zheng, congratulations on becoming a distinguished Porsche owner. May the black horse golden shield protect your noble life. Zheng Mayun suppressed her excitement, took it, and looked at Chu Xiao gratefully. Thank you, uncle. Uncle, you are so kind. Chu Xiao smiled slightly. It's nothing, let's go home. So the family got on the car one after another. And that, the Honda male salesperson who originally wanted to see get slapped in the face. Suddenly, I stood still. Chapter 21 Xiao Xiao, can I introduce you to a girlfriend? Oh shit. It turns out that what people said about your job as a ferry driver makes sense. Saying you want to buy a Bentley isn't pretense. Not at this. He casually walked into a Porsche store and bought a 718 car worth nearly $1 million without even blinking an eye. The clerk even tried to give him a 50% discount because he was a distinguished owner of a Porsche 918. What level of car is 918? It costs at least 20 million. It's just outrageous. I thought the man looked ordinary, but it turned out to be a low-key invisible rich man with assets of at least hundreds of millions. The Honda male salesperson felt the pain in his face from being hit. I laughed at others for not having money, but it turned out that I was the clown. He is now regretting it so much that his intestines are turning green. It's not that I'm upset that I didn't sell the car and earn the commission. But even with such a big shot standing in front of him, he didn't cherish him. This kind of noble person whom you can never meet on a normal day, you can try to curry favor with him by leaving a good impression. From then on, if someone just gave him a word of advice or gave him a small favor, he would be able to rise to the top. Pity. The male salesperson and a crowd of onlookers could only watch Chu Xiao and his family leave with envy. At this moment, Dabao Jing Maiyun was holding the steering wheel nervously. She really loves this car so much that she is a little afraid to drive it. Xiaoyun. Chu Xiao, who was sitting in the passenger seat, comforted him gently, "You don't have to be so careful. The car is bought for you to use, just treat it as a Honda Fit. Drive it without worry. Uncle has money. When it's worn out in a few years, I'll buy you another car." Zheng Meiyu's tense body finally relaxed as she leaned back in her seat. "Wait until you leave the 4S store." Chu Xiao had to go to the parking lot and drive over his own LaFerrari. Seeing this, brother-in-law Zheng Qinghua immediately said to his daughter, "Look at you, why did you let your uncle buy this car? Not only is it so expensive, it's also impractical. It's good looking, but you can't put anything in it." As he spoke, he stared at Chu Xiao's black LaFerrari, his love for it evident in his eyes. Men, there is almost no one who doesn't like cars. Especially big cars, good cars, luxury cars. Chu Xiao saw it and smiled. "Come on, brother-in-law, I'll take you to this store. Although there is no Bentley in Linen City, there is a Lexus store." Watching the family arrive in two luxury cars, a LaFerrari and a Porsche. The salesperson was all smiles and respectfully invited them into the store. Zheng Qinghua looked at the brand new van of the same model and couldn't help but walk over, looking at it again and again, and touching it again and again. "Hello sir, our store has discounts for old car owners. If you buy the same model again, you can get a 20% discount and a year of insurance for free. What color do you want to buy? In addition to obsidian black, there are also black and white." The salesperson introduced the product very politely without saying much. He did not mention much about the performance, let alone let the customer go in and experience it. Because they are from Kailafer, they must be very knowledgeable and familiar with it. Rich people are like this: if they like a car, even if they already have one, they will buy another one. Don't ask why. The answer is that you have money and you can do whatever you want. Can't two people in the family drive the same car? Chu Xiaohong now knows that she can't persuade her brother. She was shocked 3 times in a row that day, and her brain seemed to be insufficient. "Little owl. Let's go home after we buy this." His sister grabbed his arm and said in an almost pleading tone, "We've already bought 2 today. This is because my youngest son is still in high school and is under 18 years old and has not yet obtained a driver's license. Otherwise, I would probably have to buy him another car." And little treasure Jing Siki was staring at the family's new car with joy at this moment, and he was so happy that he almost jumped up. "From now on, I can say goodbye to that broken and small old car and travel more comfortably. My rich uncle." The little fat man asked the heaven helplessly, "How could you be so powerful and rich? Thank God for letting me be born in such a family. My uncle really helps me solve all my problems." Chu Xiao also paid by credit card, with a relaxed look as if he was buying a bottle of mineral water, and he didn't take the millions of dollars seriously at all. Even though I have seen many wealthy salespeople, I am still amazed by this attitude. This is simply inhumane. He provided the best service in every detail and even gave gifts on his own initiative. "Dear guest, this is a watch with diamonds, worth 66,000 yuan. It means that you are walking all the time. Now all the documents are ready. Here are the temporary license plates and car keys." Wearing a watch is a good sign and is in line with the mentality of a wealthy car owner. Zheng Qinghua, a simple-minded man, had never been treated like this before, so he took it with a silly smile. Chu Xiao was used to it. "Brother-in-law, you can just wear the watch for fun." This time, he didn't go anywhere else. A family of 5 drove these 3 cars back to their residential community. Sister Chu Xiaohong felt really flattered. It's so extravagant that he bought 2 cars in such a short time. Even now, she still feels like she's dreaming. In just one day, he not only reunited with his long-lost brother. The other party has grown up to be so promising and is especially kind and generous to his family. Chu Xiaohong was so moved that tears started to flow down her cheeks unconsciously. She knew that she didn't have any special abilities, and now that Xiao Xiao was so outstanding, she didn't need any help. At this moment, I can only carefully make a bowl of hand-rolled noodles, which my younger brother has loved to eat since he was a child. Half an hour later, the hot noodles were served. The family sat around the table, chatting and laughing while eating. Then Chu Xiaohong suggested, "Xiao Xiao. In a few days it will be September, the day for the village to worship their ancestors collectively. If you're not busy, let's go back together then. Of course. Chu Xiao agreed without hesitation. As the only male in the family, he naturally had to follow his sister to worship the ancestors and visit his mother at the same time. Chu Xiaohong was very happy to hear this. No matter how rich her brother was, he never forgot his roots. After saying this, she thought of another more important thing. Xiao Xiao, you are not young anymore, you are already 37 years old. Why are you still single? You need a girl to take care of you. Among the friends I know, many have children who have graduated from college and are very outstanding. I'll ask them to send the photos later. You can take a look first. Chu Xiao smiled and refused. Sister, I already have a girlfriend, you don't need to introduce me to one. Oh tilde. Chu Xiaohong was stunned for a moment, then her eyes lit up. Then you must bring it here next time you come. I want to see what kind of girl she is and whether she is worthy of you. Chu Xiao nodded and agreed, no problem. Now, he has been at his sister's house for 2 days, and it's time to return to Hangzhou. But there is one important thing to do before leaving. That is it. He was going to take his sister Chu Xiaohong and her family to look at houses in the Xiaolong Villa complex. Chapter 22 Xiaolong Group. Hello, Mr. Chu. Chu Xiao didn't hesitate and immediately told his sister his thoughts. But this was naturally strongly rejected by their whole family. No. I absolutely cannot let you spend money again. That's right. I just bought 2 cars today. The total cost is 3 million. I know you want to be good to us, but you've really done enough. I know you are rich, but everyone's money is hard earned. You must have suffered a lot along the way. That's right, even though the house at home is a little small, it's fine as long as we can live in it. There's no need to buy another one. Thank you for your kindness, uncle. Please don't spend any more money. I want to follow my rich uncle's example and work hard to get into a good university, so that I can be as successful as him. Chu Xiao knew what his sister and her family were really thinking. They just feel embarrassed and think they have spent too much money. Real people are like this, they always give more, ask for less in return, and are unwilling to take advantage. But the more they did this, the more Chu Xiao felt that his sister's family was precious, and the more he wanted to help them. As the only male in the Chu family, he spoke with great authority, so no one could resist and just followed him to look at the house after lunch. Sister Chu Xiaohong originally thought that it was just an ordinary residential building. But when they arrived at their destination and looked up, they were all stunned. The sales center is spacious and tall, with half-human high stone lions squatting on both sides of the door. There is a plaque with real gold characters hanging on it, the kind with gold foil lacquer on the characters. The 4 eye-catching words, Xiaolong Group, were written on it, shining brightly in the sun. Dabaojing Maiyun immediately covered her mouth and exclaimed, "This is a Xiaolong." The other 3 were equally shocked. Of course they know the house of the Xiaolong developer. But the best and most expensive properties in Linen, even in this shabby place, can be sold for 21,000 renminbi per square meter, and many people are still rushing to buy them. Little owl. His sister Chu Xiaohong stopped him and said, "Let's not go in. The properties of this real estate developer are very expensive. Although we can't afford a big house, we know the reputation of Xiaolong. Its positioning is high-end, the greenery is particularly good, the distance between buildings is large, and the floors are not high. Uncle, I've also heard of Xiaolong's houses. I heard that the cheapest one costs 1 million, and they are all large areas of 100 square meters online. I don't dare to think about it. Let's go to a cheaper one." That's right, Polly, Wanda and so on, I heard they are not bad either. Dad, how can those buildings compare to Xiaolong? The difference is like heaven and earth. This is the most luxurious house in Linen. I heard that all the richest bosses in the city live here. Chu Xiao listened quietly with a smile on his face. The Xiaolong Group is so famous that even my sister knows it, which shows that the brand awareness is indeed successful. Everyone is here, let's go in and take a look. He couldn't help but say goodbye and walked into the magnificent hall. The first floor is the reception center, with white and elegant sofas and tables of the same color, placed with flowers and snacks. The whole atmosphere is very high-end, and if you don't have some money, you'd feel embarrassed to come in. The salesmen were all dressed in suits and had very good attitudes. "Hello, welcome to purchase Xiaolong Real Estate." A sweet saleswoman immediately came over with a sharp look and asked, "Do you want to buy a villa or a garden house? I can show you all first." She looked at Chu Xiao and asked softly, "Once you've seen it, we'll talk in detail." Just take a look, Chu Xiao thought to herself. If her brother hadn't taken the initiative to lead her today, she really wouldn't have come to such a place. Chu Xiao nodded and said yes. Then, the group followed the saleswoman and walked along the marble floor of the shopping mall to the back. As soon as you open the door, what comes into view is the green lawn. The greenery of this complex is really nice, with all kinds of flowers that they can't even name. Chu Xiao felt like Granny Liu entering the Grand View Garden, and her eyes were not enough. The villa area all has independent courtyards, 3 floors above and below, and also has a smart garage and 24-hour butler service. After entering, you will see luxurious and brand-name decorations. Chu Xiao was stunned, and the whole family was frightened. It is worthy of being the most luxurious house in Linen. It can only be described as top-notch. "Sister, do you like it?" Chu Xiao didn't even ask the price, and directly said, "Let's get a set." "What? This requires buying a villa." Chu Xiao quickly refused, No, it's too expensive." This time, no matter what the salesperson and Chu Xiao said, the whole family refused to accept the villa. In the end, Chu Xiao had no choice but to settle for the second best and decided to choose a larger flat. This kind of house is also very comfortable, with floor-to-ceiling windows and bright and well-lit interior. "Sister, I really want to change a house for you," Chu Xiao said solemnly. "Don't be polite to me. Let's see how big the area is." After he said that, Chu Xiao knew that she had to buy it today. "My younger brother has been very opinionated and stubborn since he was young, and he always does what he says." "What is the smallest area?" "Hello, sister. The smallest unit here is the one we are looking at. It has a usable area of 180 square meters, for bedrooms, 2 living rooms and 2 bathrooms. Chu Xiao shook his head unsatisfiedly. "Not enough. For a family of 4, we need to leave room for a study. Take us to a 230 square meter apartment." Soon, they arrived at building number 1. This house has 6 bedrooms, 3 living rooms, 2 kitchens, 3 bathrooms and 3 balconies, which is definitely enough. "Wow!" Xiao Baojing Siki exclaimed, "This living room is too big. You can ride a bike in it." De Baojing Maiyun also smacked her lips. "Uncle, I've only seen this house in idle TV dramas." My sister Chu Xiao and her husband had no idea what to say. Besides being shocked, it was still shocking. "Then let's go with this one." Chu Xiao made the decision and returned to the sales center. The female salesperson hurried to get the sales contract, but she had just walked to the front desk to report to the general manager. This large flat at the top of the building has the best location and is a super property ready for move-in. Because of the high price, many wealthy people are unable to afford it. The manager didn't expect that it would be sold out in such a short time. He couldn't help but look towards Chu Xiao, wanting to know which seller was so generous. But when I saw it, I was stunned. "Big boss." The manager rubbed his eyes quickly, fearing that he had seen it wrong. "Hey! It's confirmed." This was the chairman who gave the final speech at the company's annual meeting. You know, the chairman of the JF17 group has always been mysterious. Generally speaking, given his status, he is absolutely not qualified to know who the chairman of the JF17 group is. But that day, the KPI of the real estate subgroup of their Xiaolong group was good, so the chairman was allowed to give a brief speech. He was so excited that he squeezed to the front and raised his mobile phone to take pictures. The general manager couldn't care about anything else at the moment and trotted over. "Hello, Mr. Chu." He took the initiative to extend his hand and bent down to 90 degrees. "I am Xiao Sun, son of Bor." Such humility dumbfounded all the supervisors and salesmen. What's going on? To be able to make the general manager so respectful and flattering. This young man's identity must be very complicated. Chapter 23, I can't wait to go home. The plan to go home and worship my ancestors. At this moment, not only all the employees in the sales office were shocked. Even my sister Chu Xiao and her family opened their eyes wide in shock, their faces full of disbelief. Although they were stunned and didn't say anything, they were all muttering in their hearts. "Brother, do you know the manager of Xiaolong Real Estate? My brother-in-law is so capable, and he has such a wide social circle. That person calls my uncle Mr. Chu. Wow, so awesome. My uncle is handsome, tall, rich, and a CEO. I admire him, and feel proud of him. Omega Y. Chu Xiao symbolically touched Sonobor's hand. Well, I'll bring someone to buy a house. I've chosen a 230 square meter apartment. How much does your fully furnished flat cost? Suddenly facing the leader. Sonobor was really nervous, his palms were sweating. Boss. He had just said 2 words when he was interrupted by Chu Xiao's heavy cough. Is there something going on? Sonobor was able to become the general manager of a branch company, so he has a strong ability to read people's expressions and respond to situations. He quickly brainstormed and realized something was wrong. The big boss didn't call in advance and directly dropped into Linen City. I'm afraid he didn't want to reveal his identity. So he immediately changed his words. Boss, you really have good vision. The apartment type we chose is the most popular one in our building, and the price is 20,000 per square meter. We provide fully furnished rooms, so you can move in right away. Hear the price. Even though she was mentally prepared, knowing Gui's sister Chu Xiao was still shocked at this moment. At 20,000 yuan per square meter, then 230 square meters would be 4.6 million yuan, right? Almost 5 million. It's twice as expensive as the previous Lei S car. This kind of stimulation can make your blood pressure soar. Xiao Xiao, let's forget about this house. Chu Xiao backed out again. The price is too high. Sonobor rolled his eyes and quickly said with a smile, not expensive, not expensive. Because you, Mr. Chu, have a special relationship with our company. So this house is given away for free. He quickly ordered the assistant next to him, go get the keys and the house deeds. Boom. In the hall. Everyone felt their scalp tingling when they heard this. A house worth 4.6 million yuan, just given away for free. The identity of this young man named Mr. Chu is too noble and mysterious. My sister's family was suddenly shocked and stunned. They felt like their brains were not enough. Just when they were confused, Chu Xiao had already sent Sonobor away with the excuse of go and do your thing. And at this time, the female assistant has already taken the property title and keys. Look, the work is done. He took his sister, brother-in-law, and the 2 treasures and went back. The family sitting in the car was still in a daze and felt it was too dreamy. Elder sister. Seeing that everything was completed successfully, Chu Xiao said, I still have some things to do at work, so I have to go back. I'll come and see you guys next time when I'm free. Now that communications and transportation are well developed, distance is indeed not a problem. Then, even though my sister and her family were reluctant to let him go, they were very reasonable in saying goodbye to him. The 2 children hugged their uncle tightly, stood there in tears and watched the car disappear before leaving. When the car was halfway through, Lin 1111 called to show her concern. Uncle, is it convenient for you to answer the phone now? Of course. That's great. I miss you so much. It feels like a long time since I last saw you, but I don't want to disturb you. Now that we are done, little boy, will you behave yourself for 2 days? I eat well, work hard, and look at your photos over and over again, hee hee. That was a good performance. After a while of being bored, the 2 made an appointment to have dinner together. Everyone says they can't wait to go home. It seems that the time to go back is faster than the time to come. Chu Xiao rushed to his girlfriend's building before she got off work. The 2 drove to a nearby restaurant and ate and chatted. Hearing Chu Xiao talking about finding his sister, Lin 1111 also felt happy. That's great. Uncle, you have 5 more close relatives in this world. Yes. Chu Xiao also felt a little emotional. After a while, I have to go back to worship my ancestors. Can I come with you? Lin 1111 said expectantly, I want to meet them too. Sure. Chu Xiao nodded. This way, his family wouldn't have to worry about his life. Lin 1111 was very happy to get permission. But then, she couldn't help but feel uneasy. Uncle, what if your family doesn't like me? How could that be? Chu Xiao comforted him in a gentle voice. They are all very friendly, and you are young, beautiful, and have a good personality. By the way, you will see my mother then. She was a very kind and gentle old lady. This time, Lin 1111 felt relieved and smiled again. And just at this moment, her cell phone rang. It was her best friend who was coming to play with Lin 1111 tomorrow. Lin 1111 wanted to introduce her circle to the uncle, so after hanging up the phone, she asked, Uncle, will you come with me to meet my bestie tomorrow? No problem. Chu Xiao readily agreed, but I have to go back early tonight. He was out for 2 days and didn't have time to tell his son. Okay, uncle. Lin 1111 is very considerate and not clingy without measure. After we finish eating, you can take me home. Chu Xiao was very pleased that the little woman was so sensible. The two happily enjoyed their dinner together, hugged each other when they parted, and made plans to meet friends together tomorrow. Back home, Chu Xiao briefly told his son what had happened in the past 2 days. Real. I have an aunt and a grandmother. Chu Lin originally thought that his father had been on a business trip for some urgent matter these 2 days, but he did not expect that he would bring back such shocking news. So when I learned that my family had been found, I was immediately excited. Besides my father, I finally have a family. That's great. Chu Lin was spinning around in circles with joy, having already made up his mind. Give your aunt and grandmother the gifts that you have carefully selected. Spend a few days with them. Seeing his son's joy, Chu Xiao smiled slightly, feeling a little uncomfortable in his heart. It has been really hard for Chu Lin these years. I am busy with work every day, leaving home early and coming back late, and it is common for me to be missing for half a month when I am on a business trip. Fortunately, although my child is naughty, he has never learned bad things and does not have any bad intentions. Chu Xiao felt very relieved, raised his hand and patted his son's shoulder. Okay, go back to your room and read. Don't tell me about your studies when you see your cousins and ask them about it, and embarrass me. Okay, Dad. Chu Lin was very motivated at this time. I will study until midnight tonight. Chu Xiao hummed and walked upstairs. I've been staying at my sister's house these 2 days, and there are still many inconveniences. After washing up, he dealt with emails for a while before lying down to rest. Chapter 24. Let me introduce you, this is my boyfriend. The next day. Thinking about meeting my girlfriend's best friend. Chu Xiao dressed up specially. He walked to the cloakroom of the mansion, which was said to be the largest in the world. This cloakroom is about 3 stories high, with a total area of more than 290 square meters, and an exquisite spiral staircase running through the upper and lower floors. There are countless items and collections inside, lying quietly in the glass cabinets. Under the carefully arranged lighting, it has a super feel. After choosing for a long time, Chu Xiao finally chose a high-end blue shirt and paired it with a pair of grey casual pants. This outfit doesn't look too young, but has just the right amount of maturity. Coupled with his handsome 3-dimensional facial features and high nose bridge, he is simply extremely handsome. Even when he returned to their hall and met his son Chu Lin, he was shocked. Dad. You look so handsome today. It feels like the protagonist of a wealthy family in a novel. He must be dating a girl. Chu Xiao hummed. This was the first time he met Lin 1111's best friend. Someone who could be called a friend by his girlfriend must have a very important relationship with her. Therefore, dressing properly is the greatest respect for the girl. Secondly, he didn't want Lin 1111 to lose face in front of her best friend. My girlfriend is delicate, beautiful and obedient to me. In such occasions, I must make her the focus of others' envy. Chu Xiao stopped his son who was about to go out. I'm going to meet Lin 1111 and her bestie today. Give Dad some advice. Do you want to give him some gifts? After all, it's definitely not appropriate to meet empty-handed for the first time. He wasn't sure what young people like nowadays, so it was safer to ask Chu Lin directly. Clam. No way. Chu Lin was shocked. Dad, please don't send me off. The gifts you casually give are limited editions, priceless, and can easily scare people to death. Chu Xiao held his forehead helplessly, as if what his son said was indeed true. I see. He thought, if they don't want to prepare, then don't prepare, and let them choose for themselves when the time comes. And just at this moment, my girlfriend Lin 1111 called. Uncle. She held the phone and said a little embarrassedly, it's not easy to get a taxi here. I've been waiting for a long time, but no driver is willing to come. Can you come pick it up? Chu Xiao thought it was some kind of difficult or big problem. So that's it. Of course. He agreed in a cheerful tone, such a small matter is easy to deal with. Just wait a moment, I'll be there soon. Then he hung up the phone and went to the huge private garage, which was full of top-of-the-line limited edition sports cars and luxury cars. Sometimes having too much money can also bring about a sweet trouble, which is that you need too many choices. Chu Xiao stood inside and chose for a long time, and finally decided on a Bentley Flying Spur. This car combines fashion, grandeur and elegance, and is a benchmark in the luxury car industry. The straight waterfall-style grille is comparable to the classic Parthenon of Rolls-Royce. It has a powerful aura and is more dynamic. This Bentley would be the perfect choice to pick them up. And from Chu Xiao's aesthetic point of view, compared with the solemnity of Rolls-Royce, it is more suitable for business. In fact, the Bentley is more elegant and more refined. The other side. 3 young girls with stunning looks were chatting together. The most beautiful one among them, with fair skin, long legs and lively personality, is Lin 1111. The other 2 are Bai Lu and Xu Jiuhui, her best friend. They have been best friends since childhood, they can talk about anything and have a very close relationship. Therefore, Lin 1111 was sure that the uncle was in a relationship, so she couldn't wait to tell them about it. Even though I knew it last night, it took a night. Bai Lu and Xu Jiuhui still felt that the news was too sudden and unbelievable. 1111, I didn't expect you had a boyfriend. Yeah, there are so many people who like to pursue you, but you are not tempted. Why did you find an uncle? Have you been bewitched by him? He is 18 years older than you, that's a generation difference. I seriously doubt that you have been deceived. Old men are the most slick and good at coaxing little girls. They must be bullying you because you have little experience and have never been in a relationship. I will keep an eye on you and make sure you don't let the bad guys abduct you. Yes. Our group of girlfriends have sharp eyes and golden pupils, and they can definitely make all the monsters return to their original form. Hear their exaggerated statements. Lin 1111 didn't know whether to laugh or cry, and instinctively defended him. Uncle is really excellent. I fell in love with him at first sight in the coffee shop. He even took the initiative to ask for my phone number, but he didn't want to give it to me and didn't want to date me. I finally managed to get him. What? Xu Jiuhui's eyes widened in shock. With such a big age gap, it turns out that he wasn't the one chasing you, but you took the initiative to throw yourself at him. When talking about this, Lin 1111's face unconsciously showed happiness and pride. He is really perfect. Fortunately, I was brave enough at the time, otherwise I would have had no chance. If I miss this opportunity, I will probably be single for the rest of my life, and no one will ever be able to enter my heart again. Bai Lu looked disappointed and poked Lin 1111's forehead with her new manicure. Stupid. I'm even more curious now. I'll see if he's worthy of you later. While talking, a black car with the license plate Hangzhou A88888 drove over. Look. The sharp-eyed Bai Lu was the first to spot this special car. This license plate number is really cool. It must be the car of a business tycoon. 88888 has a lucky meaning. This license plate alone is estimated to be worth 300,000 or 400,000 yuan, and you can't buy it with money. You have to know a senior leader in the company. Although Xu Jiuhui didn't understand these, she knew that this kind of license plate must be expensive. After being shocked by this, I looked up and saw a B logo with wings spread out. The 2 besties almost fainted and exclaimed, "Oh my god, Bentley! It's a purely imported European car, and the price is for million. So luxurious. Low-key, luxurious and tasteful." In their shock, the Bentley was parked right in front of the 3 people. Bai Lu and Xu Jiuhui's heartbeats suddenly quickened, and they stared at the car door intently. What's going on? Why did the car stop in front of them? Could it be that the people inside knew them? Soon, the answer was revealed. The car door was pushed open from the inside. First, the slender model's straight legs are stretched out. Then a handsome man, more dazzling than a star, got out of the car with full aura. So handsome. The temperament of a wealthy and noble young man. The 2 best friends suddenly became nervous and their palms were sweating. Uncle. After Lin 1111 recognized who he was, she introduced him with surprise. He's the boyfriend I told you about. Bai Lu, my best friend who has always been materialistic, now has a glittering look in her eyes. Handsome, rich and experienced. This man is perfect. He is absolutely her ideal type. Chapter 25. There are 2 kinds of women, one is called Lin 1111, the other is called others. Excellent. This is the male god, 360 degrees of perfection without any blind spots. How can there be such a perfect man? It's the kind of man you'll never forget at first sight. I feel like I'm having a heart attack. My heart is beating so fast and I can't control it at all. It's bad enough that he's so handsome that he leaves no room for other men to survive, but he's also so rich, he's simply a nobleman. That's right. This Bentley is the best proof. It's really expensive, over $4 million. Lynn 1111 didn't quite understand what they were talking about, Bentley. She is a girl and doesn't pay much attention to cars on weekdays. Lynn 1111 felt that what her best friends said was too exaggerated. Besides, the uncle was only driving the company car. But she didn't have to explain any of this. Originally, the purpose of today's meeting was simply to introduce everyone to each other. Meet each other's friends and family and share every bit of life. Isn't this what lovers are like? Bailu, my outgoing and flirtatious best friend, was so happy that she couldn't hide it on her face. She tidied her hair, then bit her lip and quietly flirted with this handsome and wealthy man. Bailu is also very beautiful, and is better at dressing up, with brown hair and crystal nails. But although she is beautiful, she can't compare with Lynn 1111 at all. She looks superficial and tacky. Chu Xiao pretended not to see it and greeted politely, "Hello, I'm 1111's boyfriend. My name is Chu Xiao." Wow! The names are so nice. The two best friends had stars in their eyes and responded somewhat flattered. As best friends who grew up together. Lynn 1111 knew her best friend Bailu's character, don't even think about it. She glared at him warningly. My best friend Bailu immediately stuck out her tongue and put away these thoughts, 1111. You must seize the opportunity with such an excellent man. This way, we sisters can also benefit from it in the future. After a pause, she joked, if you don't handle it well, I'll do it. Get lost. Lynn 1111 laughed and scolded, how dare you? Speaking of. She sweetly took her boyfriend's arm and declared her sovereignty to her girlfriends. Let's go together. Chu Xiao said in a magnetic voice, I'd like to invite you friends to dinner. Okay. It's such an honor. The two best friends said happily, following their steps closely. Lynn 1111 naturally sat next to the uncle, so she took the initiative to get on the passenger seat. Bailu and Xu Jiuwei opened the back door and got in. The two of them were so shocked that their eyes widened and they praised him in various ways. This car is really high-end. This is my first time riding in a Bentley. There are embroidery patterns on the diamond-shaped chairs. So luxurious. This is made of top-quality materials and is all traditionally handmade. Oh my god, look at the front, the historic Breitling dashboard, the retro chrome pull-type switches. I love it. It exudes elegance and nobility everywhere. You really get what you pay for. The experience of this luxury car is luxurious. Lynn 1111 is not materialistic at all. Therefore, she did not have too many feelings, but just felt that the seat was quite comfortable and spacious. The car was driving steadily. After being shocked and curious, the two best friends gradually calmed down. They began to screen Lynn 1111 and seriously consider whether this relationship was reliable. The uncle that my friend is talking about, doesn't he look old at all? If Bailu hadn't known that he was 18 years older than 1111, she would have thought he was a recent college graduate. Such a young-looking man drives a Bentley worth more than 4 million yuan. With such conditions, his net worth is probably over 100 million, and he must have no shortage of women around him. As long as the other party waves, many college students, internet celebrities, and even stars will rush over. The more Bailu thought about it, the more she felt something was wrong. This Chu Xiao must be the kind of rich guy who plays with young girls. He didn't mean it sincerely, he just wanted to relive the good feeling of youth. Think of this. Bailu immediately became worried about her best friend. She thought about it seriously and suddenly her eyes lit up and she came up with an idea. Uncle, you drive such a nice car. Bailu tried to speak naturally and not too deliberately, how about buying a car for 1111 as well? She has to go to school and work part-time, so it's inconvenient for her to take the bus everywhere. Lynn 1111 didn't expect her bestie to say that, so she quickly said, no. After saying. She turned her head and said in a reproachful tone, you are asking for something without permission. Why buy a car? Isn't it better to take the bus or ride a shared bike? Chu Xiao smiled and said, don't mention it, you really reminded me of something. He raised his hand, took out a black card from the wallet on the center console, and put it in Lynn 1111's hand. This is my salary card. You can buy whatever you want. Lin 1111 held the black card, dazed. The two have not known each other for long, and their relationship has just been confirmed. The uncle handed the salary card to me and let me spend it as I pleased. Happiness came so suddenly that her mind went blank and she couldn't react. Bailu, her best friend who always worshipped money, immediately recognized him and exclaimed. Standard Chartered Bank's black card with unlimited overdraft. This card is issued very rarely. Assets worth trillions of dollars must be reviewed first, and cash flow must be reviewed, not valuation. Besides, it's not enough to just have money. The card owner needs to have influence as a trendsetter in certain industries. Uncle, you are so generous. Lin 1111's focus was not on this. She was moved and said, Uncle, you really love me. To make money, one has to work hard in all weathers. See this scene. Chu Xiao couldn't help but smile slightly, and a warm feeling also surged in his heart. This is the difference between Lin 1111 and others. What others see as money, his wealth, and his material things. In the eyes of the simple Lin 1111, all she sees is love, sincerity, and pure emotion. This is the most precious thing in the world. Chu Xiao was very pleased that his girlfriend shared the same values as him. In the real world, people become more snobbish and despise the poor and love the rich because life is difficult. But the richer he became, the more he realized that true love and sincerity, the most precious things, are priceless treasures that cannot be bought with any amount of money. Therefore, this is also the reason why he has a special liking for Lin 1111. Take it if you give it to me. Chu Xiao's tone was gentle, but it also carried a tone that could not be refused. Isn't the purpose of making money to spend it? Nothing is more important than you. When these words were spoken, all three girls were moved. And at this time, the car has arrived at the underground parking lot of IFS International Financial Center. This is the most high-end shopping mall in Hangzhou, and its status is equivalent to that of the China World Trade Center in Yangjing. All the world's famous brands can be found here. There are also delicious high-end restaurants. Next, Chu Xiao can let his girlfriend's best friends choose gifts. Chapter 26. You can pick anything. I shouldn't have come empty-handed for our first meeting, Chu Xiao said in a polite tone, appearing very cultured, but because I don't know your preferences. So I didn't bring any gifts and now I'm at the shopping mall. Just pick whatever you want, I'll pay. Boom. The two best friends were shocked by this sudden notification message. They are now at IFS. There are many high-end counters here, such as LV, Bulgari, Vacheron Constantin, and the luxury brand Black Bandage. All the products that come into view are high-end, fashionable and noble. Especially those jewelry and bags. Under the carefully designed counters and lighting, they will dazzle your eyes and are so beautiful that you can't resist. If I have to mention the disadvantages, it is just one word: expensive. IFC is a shopping mecca for wealthy people in Beijing and Shanghai. Really just pick it at random. Bailu, her materialistic best friend, suddenly had her heart pounding, the corners of her mouth couldn't help but rise, with a look of secret joy in her eyes. Come here on weekdays. She had to save up several months' salary before she could buy the cheapest luxury item with great difficulty. For a truly top-notch brand, I don't even dare to ask the price. But now, Lin 1111's generous boyfriend actually lets them pick whatever they want. Men who spend money like water look even more handsome. Bailu's heart was pounding and she stared at the handsome uncle closely. I am sure. Chu Xiao smiled slightly. You are 1111's friends, you can take whatever you want as long as you can afford it. With this promise blessing. When Bailu looked at Chu Xiao at this moment, her eyes were full of stars and her gaze was as fierce as a wolf or a tiger. If this wasn't he, the boyfriend of my good friend Lin 1111. She really had immediately thrown herself into his arms. This perfect man is glowing all over, so attractive. Bailu took a deep breath and told herself. You need to calm down. You need to calm down. You need to calm down. You should never covet your best friend's boyfriend. No matter how much you love to worship someone, you must abide by the moral bottom line. You cannot caress your friend's husband. After a very inspiring psychological struggle, Bailu's emotions calmed down a lot, and Xu Jiuwei showed the same emotion. Looking at her two best friends, her eyes lit up and the corners of her mouth curved. His face was filled with uncontrollable surprise and excitement. At this time, Lin 1111 immediately stood up to defend him. Hey hey hey. What's that look in your eyes? I'm telling you, don't take this opportunity to bully my uncle. Each person can choose at most one gift, and the rest will be at your own expense. She could see that her boyfriend should be of good condition. But even if the conditions are good, you can't build it like this. If the uncle doesn't know how to save money, you have to help him save money. He must not let his two best friends take advantage of him and rob him without mercy. I know. We know what's going on. You look so nervous. We haven't even gotten married yet, why are you so protective of him? You two, one of you is sincere in letting us buy, and the other one is strictly guarding and controlling the quantity. They really show their affection anytime and anywhere. That's right. You won't have to eat later. The dog and wolf are so full. Lin 1111 twisted Bailu's arm and said, choose quickly, you are the only one who talks too much. He tilder. Her best friend was not angry. She smiled and pulled her to watch and consult. Then the two of them began to enter the store seriously and buy the items they liked. In the end, Bailu picked an LV coat, while Chu Xiao chose a Fendi scarf. The total value is around 10,000, which is not cheap but not expensive. Of course there are better ones, but both of them know what to do. This is her best friend's boyfriend, and letting them choose gifts is also out of Lin 1111's favor. So don't be so shameless as to choose the more expensive ones. The two best friends still have a strong sense of boundaries and understand that too much is as bad as too little. All three of them are young, beautiful, with long legs and stunning looks. Chu Xiao is also handsome and noble, even more stylish than popular stars. Such a combination attracts countless people's attention wherever they go. I really envy this guy. He has three such beautiful girls around him. So jealous, they were all talking and laughing with the men. The prettiest one among them must be his girlfriend, right? They are arm in arm. I would like to say that this is the most beautiful scenery of the IFC. What a high-quality boy. He looks very well-mannered. I am superficial, I am impressed by her looks, her legs must be over 1.3 meters long. He must be from a wealthy family to be able to buy so many things here. I'm jealous. Hearing everyone's discussions, the two smiled at each other and held their hands tightly, unwilling to separate. At this time, Chu Xiao seemed to have thought of something and quickly reached into his pocket with his other hand. Soon, he took out a bracelet. 1111, they all bought the gifts they liked. You can't miss out either. This is a gift from me to you. It's a couple's gift. And mine. Lin 1111 covered her mouth in surprise. She didn't expect that the uncle had already prepared a surprise for her. I like it very much. She stared at the bracelet intently, then opened her palm and took it. Thank you, uncle. That bracelet is inlaid with several gemstones. Even people who don't know how to clean up can feel that it is unusual. My best friends Bailu and Chu Xiao were even more envious. So beautiful. This design is absolutely amazing, elegant and stylish. The color of the gemstone is so transparent. This purity should be very expensive, right? Many people gathered around, all attracted by this rare bracelet. In the IFC where high-end luxury hotels gather, there are many jewelry brands, such as Tiffany, Cartier, Bulgari. Each company has launched its own series of bracelets, and the prices are more expensive than each other. But all of them combined cannot compare to the bracelet on Lin 1111's hand. Wow! This bracelet is so special. I've never seen red, green and blue gemstones matched so perfectly. This kind of complicated inlay craftsmanship is only enjoyed by European royal families. It totally suits my aesthetic taste. Does anyone know what brand this is? I want the same style, I like it so much. Bailu, the money-worshipping bestie, calls herself a fashion expert and is familiar with the jewelry series of major luxury brands. But she couldn't recognize the origin of the bracelet. Therefore, Bailu couldn't help but look at it curiously and asked, which brand did you buy this bracelet from? Chu Xiao smiled slightly and was about to reply to her. But I didn't expect that there were so many people in front of the store. Xu Liang, chief appraiser of Van Cleef Arpels jewelry store, who came out to maintain order, suddenly had his eyes lit up. He walked over with a very respectful attitude, trying his best to control the turbulent waves in his heart and asked, Miss, can you lend me your bracelet? Chapter 27. Who is this young man? Van Cleef Arpels' chief appraiser also happened to come out of the house. You can see the moment the bracelet in Lin 1111's hand. He suddenly felt his heart moving. This is an instinct that comes from many years of profession and a sensitivity to top-quality heirloom jewelry. Then, Chu Xiao felt that it looked familiar. I must have seen it on some important or special occasion. Because it's so special. That's why he took the liberty to step forward and ask if he could borrow it to have a look. Although Lin 1111 felt strange, she was not stingy. No problem. She handed over the bracelet carefully. This is the first time the uncle gave me a gift. No matter what brand it is, whether it is valuable or not. Even if it was bought from a roadside stall, it was a priceless treasure to Lin 1111. And the chief appraiser Chu Xiao didn't even dare to answer it directly. He pulled a square, pure white silk handkerchief from his pocket. Please put it here. Appraiser Chu Xiao stared at the bracelet intently and immediately recognized what it was. He suddenly felt dizzy and his blood pressure soared. Oh my God, this is truly a priceless masterpiece by Master Robert Goossens. Master Robert Goossens is Chanel's exclusive jewelry designer. At the same time, we have good cooperative relationships with Balenciaga, YSL, Rochers and Schiaparelli. The jewelry designed by the master are all priceless and are highly sought after by the world's top wealthy people, European aristocrats and superstars. This bracelet took him 5 years of hard work to collect the best gems from around the world, and it was carefully designed and made entirely by hand. At a Sotheby's auction. This priceless treasure was bought by a mysterious Chinese visitor at a shockingly high price. That's right. This bracelet is called priceless. Because there is a pair in total, a couple's version for men and women. The chief appraiser of Van Cleef Arpels had his eyes wide open at this moment, emitting an unusually shining light, and stood there like a wood carving or clay sculpture. Watching this scene, the people around were even more surprised and started talking about it. What's going on? Is this bracelet special? It looks very high-end, it should not be cheap. What do you mean by not cheap? Didn't you see the reaction of Van Cleef Arpels' chief appraiser? What is Van Cleef Arpels? You don't know. This famous French luxury brand has always been a top jewelry brand favored by aristocrats and celebrities from all over the world. Yes, the most classic for leaf clover pattern is his signature work. Any bracelet starts at 5 figures, it's a high-end luxury brand. The man's name is Chu Xiao, and he is the chief appraiser of Van Cleef Arpels. The fact that he was so surprised shows that this bracelet is definitely rare. Hearing people around me say this. Bailu, the money-worshipping best friend, was even more curious and asked, is this bracelet very expensive? It's expensive. Appraiser Chu Xiao reluctantly returned the bracelet to Lin 1111 and replied, this is a unique piece. Bailu secretly clicked her tongue and guessed the price in her mind. Which one is more expensive, this or that Himalaya bag from LV? Van Cleef Arpels' chief appraiser replied disdainfully, how can this be compared? Clam. Bailu's pupils suddenly shrank and she was shocked. You know, a Himalaya bag costs 200,000 or 300,000, but it can't even be compared. Could it be that this jewel bracelet costs millions? Although the color, size, and purity are all very good, it shouldn't be sky high in price, right? Appraiser Chu Xiao continued, this pair of bracelets is a couple's set, designed by a master designer. I'll tell you the name of this bracelet, priceless. As for the price, you can guess it yourself. The words shocked everyone around, and everyone started to speculate curiously. I think it will cost 500,000. So expensive? Cartier can buy it for more than 10,000 yuan. People say it's more expensive than the LV Himalaya bag, so double the price is definitely enough. 500,000 is enough to buy a BMW. He is really rich. How can ordinary people like us understand the life of the upper class? I think it's more than this price that shocked the chief appraiser of Van Cleef Arpels. It must be at least 1 million yuan. You must be kidding. 1 million for a bracelet. That's absolutely impossible. Maybe 3 or 4 million. There's nothing that others can't buy, except what we can't think of. Too arrogant, this man is really generous. Regarding these discussions, Chu Xiao was calm, with a gentle smile on his face, and did not respond. He bought this pair of bracelets for 14 million yuan. If you calculate the price, it's only 7 million per piece, which is not bad. Not expensive. Compared to his collections, it's really nothing. For example, there is a bracelet with 9-eyed Z beads, which is the best quality one born from the 9th grade lotus. It is one of the 7 treasures of Tibetan Buddhism, worth over 100 million yuan, and there are only 2 of them in the world. One is in Chu Xiao's hand, and the other is in the hand of the Sakyamuni Buddha statue in the Indian palace. But at this time, Lin 1111 couldn't keep calm at all, and quickly declined. "Uncle, I can't have it. You'd better keep such a precious and priceless treasure in good care. I'm sometimes careless. What if I lose it?" Chu Xiao looked at his girlfriend with emotion. She was so innocent and didn't like material things. The jewelry appraisers said that the price was too high, and people around me also said that it was not cheap. If it were another girl, she would be very happy and wear it happily to show off. But she didn't want it because it was expensive. Girls like this are rare. The more Lin 1111 acted like this, the more Chu Xiao wanted to give it to her, so he picked up the bracelet without saying anything and put it on her wrist. "Put it on. Look how well it suits you. What priceless treasure. You are my priceless treasure." My 2 best friends, Bai Lu and Xu Jiuhui, were extremely envious. What the uncle said was so beautiful. And what is more important is that this uncle actually does better than he says, and he doesn't just make empty promises. His every move now is quite similar to that of a domineering president doting on his darling wife in a female romance novel. Who doesn't like a man like this? The girls who were watching were all jealous. Such a handsome and tall man is actually so rich and generous. How can there be such a perfect man? What he said made me cry. I was so moved. Why do all the good men already have girlfriends? It feels like I missed out on a billion. Van Cleef Arpels' chief appraiser Xu Liang was also stunned. Such a valuable Robert Goossens master bracelet was sold at a shocking price. No one has seen it since then, and people thought it was collected and passed down by the buyer. But I didn't expect that it would be given away so easily and casually. It really shattered his 3 views. Who exactly is this young man? Chapter 28. Uncle, you lied to me. We have already talked about this and the bracelet has been put on. Lin 1111 certainly can't refuse now. Thank you, uncle. She raised her beautiful peach blossom eyes, and there seemed to be a sparkle in them. I will cherish it. Silly girl. Chu Xiao took her hand and said lovingly, I've said it many times. No matter how expensive something is, it has a price, but you are priceless. Wear it if you like it. Don't worry about it. If you lose it, I'll buy you a better one. This remark once again attracted countless fans. And at this moment, Xu Liang, the chief appraiser of Van Cleef Arpels, also left reluctantly. Today I can see such top-quality jewelry up close with my own eyes. This will be the most precious experience in his life. At the same time, Chu Xiao raised his hand to check the time. It had been 3.5 hours since he entered the IFC. Since everyone has bought their favorite gifts, they should be hungry by now. 11:11, let's go eat. He suggested gently, I know a private restaurant. The dishes and ingredients there are very good. I'll take you there to taste them. When Lin 1111 heard this, she quickly refused, Uncle, no need. You've spent so much money on this trip today. You've already spent a lot. Let me decide where to eat. The 2 besties also supported her. Yes, 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 let's listen to 1111. We are gathered here today to have fun. It doesn't matter where we eat. Atmosphere and mood are the most difficult. Hear them insist in unison. Chu Xiao just smiled and let his girlfriend pull him out. She really didn't give herself a chance to refuse and directly told me the address of the restaurant. The place was indeed not easy to find, and Chu Xiao almost took the wrong road. Fortunately, Lin 1111 knew him and corrected him in time. Soon, the Bentley stopped in front of a house. Another fly-infested restaurant. Chu Xiao seemed to have gotten used to his girlfriend's style. As expected, this store is also very small. After entering the door, there are only 3 wooden tables on each side, and facing them is the kitchen. The restaurant is very clean and tidy, and through the glass window, you can see the busy figure of the owner. This is clear at a glance, clean and hygienic. However, what impressed Chu Xiao the most was not the environment and cleanliness. But the boss couple turned out to be disabled. The man had a lame leg, and he always stepped on his feet as he walked back and forth between the stove and the ingredients. The woman was blind in one eye, but she didn't look scary, only pitiful and sympathetic. Uncle Wang and Aunt Wang. As soon as Lin 1111 entered the door, she shouted in a clear voice, there are 4 of us today. Yes, that tall handsome guy is her boyfriend. We're having a dinner party here. We haven't been here for a while. Why do I feel like Aunt Wine has lost some weight? The 3 of them chattered and walked to the kitchen door. It can be seen that everyone is very familiar with this boss couple. Chu Xiao watched with a smile, feeling a little curious. As if seeing her boyfriend's confusion, Lin 1111 took his arm and explained. My bestie and I used to eat here when we were in school. His shop has been open for more than 10 years, and this owner is very nice. Even though both of them were ill, they still insisted on working hard to achieve results. The vegetables they use are very fresh, and the rice is not adulterated. It's a very conscientious business. My best friend Bai Lu also echoed, that's right. With such high costs, we definitely won't make much money. But even with such a small profit, they still insist on providing free lunch to the sanitation workers around them. Hear this? Chu Xiao looked at the old couple again, and in addition to sympathy, he also felt more respect. They ordered 2 more dishes for this meal. When Uncle Wang and Aunt Wan saw 1111 brought her boyfriend, they were sincerely happy for her. Not only did they prepare the dishes meticulously, they also gave us homemade dried radishes that were not sold to the public. This meal, though, did not have the setting of a high-end restaurant. It's not as expensive as imported food, but it's more homely and warm. Chu Xiao and the 3 girls had a very harmonious chat. He has rich experience, high emotional intelligence, and can easily be tolerant of young people. His 2 best friends, Bai Lu and Xu Jiuhui, were also impressed by the uncle's wit, talkativeness, and knowledge. It's true that you are young and don't know the benefits of uncles, and you mistakenly treat young boys as treasures. This uncle is steady and mature, successful and capable, emotionally stable and caring. The meal is over. The girlfriends tactfully prepared to leave. But before leaving, they pulled Lin 1111 aside and said very seriously. 1111, a man like this must be kept. Yes. If anyone dares to snatch my uncle from you, call us and tell us. We will fight for you and protect your love till death. It was obvious that they had been bribed by Chu Xiao and kept saying good things about him. Lin 1111 didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I know, you all betrayed me. No, we are telling the truth. A good girlfriend is not a liar, she is sincere and means good to you. The 3 of them laughed a few more times, then parted at the door. Lin 1111 also drove away with Chu Xiao. Sitting in the passenger seat, she would think about what happened that day and feel a mixture of emotions. It's really beyond expectations. Originally, she just wanted to introduce her boyfriend to her best friend. This is to make their relationship public. But I didn't expect it. The uncle actually came in a Bentley and took his girlfriends to IFS to buy gifts. That's a place where only the richest people in Jinghai dare to spend money. This is not the end. At the end, he also gave himself an exquisite and valuable bracelet, which even amazed the jewelry appraiser in the shop next door. Think about this. Lin 1111 is incredible and dreamy. But she knew clearly that all this was true, especially when she looked down at the bracelet on her wrist. Lin 1111 felt more deeply that her boyfriend was not bad in terms of conditions. So, she turned her head and said coquettishly, Uncle, you deceived me so badly. I thought you really had no car or house, and I was ready to start from scratch with you. But I didn't expect that you actually saved a lot of money. Chu Xiao smiled slightly, raised his hand and touched his girlfriend's hair, and said softly, I'm so old now. Besides, after being in the company for so long, it's not normal to have some savings. Lin 1111 is a generous person, so after hearing what her boyfriend said, she didn't ask any more questions. She didn't want to know how much savings the uncle had or what position he held in the company. Anyway, no matter whether the uncle has money or not, Lin 1111 will follow him. She is not here for the money. She fell in love at first sight in the coffee shop, and from the beginning to the end, she liked the uncle as a person. However, this fact does have its advantages. This also gave her more confidence when she faced the matter of taking her boyfriend to meet her mother tomorrow. Having money is a good thing after all. Isn't he it? Chapter 29 Class Reunion. What are you daydreaming about? Chu Xiao turned his head to look at his girlfriend. You look so serious. Lin 1111 smiled very sweetly and happily, and stretched out her little hand to cover the back of his hand. Uncle has given me so many surprises. I feel so lucky to have met you. He tilder. Chu Xiao smiled slightly. You also add vivid colors to my monotonous life. He held the girl's hand tighter with his backhand and drove with one hand. After a long time, Bentley waited downstairs of Lin 1111's house. Every time they parted, they were reluctant to leave, but they still hugged and kissed each other before temporarily separating. Chu Xiao returned home, thinking about meeting his girlfriend's mother tomorrow. Should I prepare some gifts or something? After all, this is meeting the parents. What should be done is to make sure that the other party cannot find fault with it, so that Lin 1111 does not feel too stressed. I heard her say before that her mother was very unhappy with her because she was looking for someone older than her and did not accept the blind date she had arranged for her. I'm afraid that this will turn the anger on myself. Just as I was thinking about it, a phone call suddenly came. Chu Xiao answered the phone. He was very steady and calm. Therefore, the other party spoke first. Chu Xiao, you haven't slept yet, have you? It's me, my old classmate Zhao Wei. Oh Tilder. Chu Xiao remembered him. The two had met in the restaurant before. It was the greasy middle-aged man with Mediterranean hair, his college classmate. Not yet. Why do you want to talk to me? You are such a forgetful person. Didn't I invite you to the class reunion? Tomorrow is the day, so I'm calling to remind you, don't forget it. Don't mention it. If Zhao Wei hadn't called. Chu Xiao really forgot about it, otherwise he would not have arranged to meet Lin 1111's mother tomorrow. Zhao Wei continued. Chu Xiao, it's so hard for you to come. It's so hard. We've been classmates for many years, so we have to have a few more drinks tomorrow. I'm sorry, I probably won't be able to come tomorrow. Chu Xiao thought about meeting his girlfriend's mother tomorrow and was about to politely refuse. Zhao Wei, a greasy middle-aged man with a Mediterranean look, suddenly changed the subject and said, Teacher Liu Jianjun may also come. Do you remember him? Teacher Liu Jianjun is in a very bad condition. The less time we get to see him, the better. Mention the teacher's name. Chu Xiao's heart moved slightly, and he couldn't help feeling dazed. The dusty memories were also opened. I remember that when I was in college, I was busy studying and earning credits every day, while also working part-time to start my own business. The counselor, Mr. Liu Jianjun, took great care of him. Not only did he read the file, he also took the initiative to help Chu Xiao apply for a national student grant. I also often introduce projects from the department and even the institute to him. When Chu Xiao started his online e-commerce business, he targeted campus students as his main consumer group. Therefore, in order to better develop the business, it is necessary to set up business outlets in schools. At that time, there were several other people with connections who also wanted the storage room in the playground. It was teacher Liu Jianjun who, in order to protect Chu Xiao, did not hesitate to offend the vice dean and helped him get the opportunity. It is with the help of this base that the business can quickly cover the entire school and radiate to the surrounding schools. But from then on, teacher Liu was bullied by the school leaders, even though he later became a lecturer and was obviously excellent in teaching and scientific research. But I was constantly suppressed, unable to get promoted, and my class hours were reduced to a pitifully small number. Liu Jianjun already had a sick wife at home, and after having many courses cut, his life became even more difficult. University teachers do not earn much. The basic salary is only 2,000 yuan. There is no teaching fee and no research funding. It is really not enough money. To these things and situations, Chu Xiao only heard about it from others many years later, but by that time, teacher Liu had already resigned and disappeared. This became a thorn in his heart, and he felt uncomfortable every time he thought about it. He also asked someone to look for her, but there has been no news to this day. I didn't expect that teacher Liu would come to this class reunion, so I must attend. Then I will definitely go. Chu Xiao immediately agreed. Where are we going to eat tomorrow? After noting down the restaurant address and specific time, he decided to arrive at the banquet on time. But after hanging up the phone, Chu Xiao felt a bit of a headache. I had originally planned to meet my girlfriend's mother, but this time I'm afraid I'll have to change the time. So he took out his cell phone and made a call. Lin 1111 had just finished cleaning up and was lying on the bed about to send a message to her boyfriend. I didn't expect the other party to call me first. The corners of her mouth suddenly curled up, and a happy smile appeared on her pretty face. We really have a telepathic connection. Uncle. Lin 1111 said crisply, I was just thinking about you and wanted to call you. Hearing her tone so light, Chu Xiao suddenly felt a little guilty. This girlfriend must be looking forward to taking him to meet her mother tomorrow. This is to make the relationship public with the parents and also reflects the further development of the relationship between the two. But now I have to destroy this vision. He was very reluctant, but there was nothing he could do, so he could only apologize and say gently, "I miss you too, 1111. But I'm sorry, you may not be able to see your mother tomorrow." Oh? Tilde. Lin 1111 was indeed surprised, but not angry. She said generously, "It's okay, uncle, are you in any emergency?" I have to say, my girlfriend is really considerate. At her age, if it were someone else, they would have started complaining and getting angry a long time ago. But Lin 1111 not only did not make a fuss, but also asked him if there was anything wrong. Chu Xiao felt comforted. "Yes, tomorrow is the day for the class reunion. You remember the man we met in the cafeteria while eating? Yeah, remember, that Mediterranean master. Har, that's him. Tomorrow is the day for the class reunion. He just called to remind me to be there on time. And there will be another teacher, Mr. Liu, who will be attending. He took special care of me when I was in school. His situation is very bad now. If I don't see him this time, I may not have the chance next time." Lin 1111 felt distressed when she heard this. "Your teacher is in such a bad condition, so you must go tomorrow." "I'll be with you tomorrow. Don't worry, I will explain it to my mother." Chu Xiao smiled and nodded. "Okay, I'll pick you up tomorrow. This way." After Lin 1111 hung up the phone, she went to her mother's room. "Mom, my boyfriend has something to do tomorrow, so he can't come. See you next time." "What?" When Lin's mother heard her recollection, she immediately became unhappy. What has been agreed upon can still be changed. My daughter's boyfriend is too unreliable. She suddenly became sarcastic. 1111, I'm not saying anything bad about you, but he doesn't take you seriously at all. What could be more important than meeting the parents? This kind of man is not worth your love at all, break up with him quickly. Chapter 30 Lin 1111's mother's thoughts. Lin 1111 really doesn't like her mother's self-righteousness. "Mom, you didn't even ask why did you just come here and ask us to break up without any reason? What happened to him? The company went bankrupt. Why does it have to be dealt with tomorrow? Your words are too harsh, I won't talk to you anymore." "Oh, it seems not. If that's the case, then it means that you are not the most important person in his heart. Why keep such a person around if not breaking up with him? I can't explain it to you. He really has something to do, so our schedules conflict. If we want to meet, any time is fine. Let's wait 2 days." Lin 1111 didn't dare tell the uncle that he was going to a class reunion, otherwise her mother would get even angrier after hearing it. But even so, a fierce quarrel broke out between the two. Lin 1111 ran back to her room depressed and slammed the door to show her protest. "Look at my daughter being so stubborn and recalcitrant." Mother Lin was so angry that her face turned blue, and she looked quite disappointed in her child. She wanted to go over and say a few more words, but just then, her cell phone rang. The caller's note is that he is an elite returnee. Out of politeness, Lin's mother chose to answer the other party's call first. An enthusiastic voice immediately came from the other end of the phone. "Auntie, I'm Xiao Feng. Aunt Kui introduced me to you before. The last time I contacted you, you said 1111 was busy and didn't have time to meet. Would it be convenient in 2 days? I can book a private room in Fushan Qianqian, and we can chat while eating and get to know each other." Lin's mother was indeed very satisfied with this elite returnee. After seeing his photo, she also knew that his company was a large group. She has worked hard for half her life and has no extravagant demands. She just hopes that her daughter can find a good home and live a happy life. So when Xiao Feng proposed to meet, she was really moved. But when she thought of her stubborn daughter, Mother Lin felt a headache again. In fact, 1111 is a very well-behaved child. She has been very sensible and studious since she was a child. She always ranks first in her grade and receives many awards and scholarships. Apart from being rather stubborn and refusing to listen to advice when dating a boyfriend this time, there is really nothing wrong with her. From this we can see that she really likes that boyfriend. If I really force my daughter to go on a blind date and break them up, that would be too vicious. So after thinking it over, Lin's mother said politely, "Xiao Xiao, I'm sorry. I didn't know 1111 just got a boyfriend. This is such a misunderstanding. So, thank you very much for liking my daughter. You are so outstanding, you can definitely find a better girl. What Lin's mother said was a disguised rejection. Xiao Feng on the other end had no choice but to say a few polite words and then hung up. Finish solving this matter. Mother Lin couldn't help but walk towards Lin 1111's bedroom and said earnestly outside. You heard the phone call just now, right? Hey, you little girl, you are so stubborn. How can a mother harm you? The reason I oppose it is because it's for your own good. I hope you can marry a good man. Through the door. Both of them remained silent and did not speak. Lin 1111 also understood her mother's original intention, which must be a good one. But as long as she is against the uncle, she will never compromise and accept it. There was no response from inside the house. Lin's mother stood there for several minutes before she sighed deeply, turned around and left. The next day, Chu Xiao originally planned to drive a Bentley to attend the class reunion. But unexpectedly, his son Chu Lin drove away first. So, after much selection, he changed to a BB version of the Rolls-Royce Cullinan and went to pick up Lin 1111. Uncle, your car is so beautiful. Lin 1111 liked it the first time she saw it. How much is this? Looking at the interior, it is even more refined and high-end. About 10 million. Chu Xiao said in a light tone. This price was obviously beyond Lin 1111's expectations, and she couldn't help but sigh, your company is really rich. But she was not interested in these things. She then took out her loose powder and lipstick and started to touch up her makeup in the car, asking from time to time. Uncle, what do you think of this makeup? Is it too light? Uncle, do you think putting on eyeliner will make me look too fierce and mature? Uncle, what color lipstick do you like, coral red or bean paste pink? Uncle, how do you like this makeup? Do you want it to be thicker? Chu Xiao answered patiently throughout the whole process, and finally said with a smile, you are very beautiful, no need to wear heavy makeup. After hearing this, Lin 1111 immediately obeyed and did as he was told. Afterwards, the two went to Tianhua Hotel. Tianhua Hotel. It is an old 5-star hotel in Hangzhou. Although it is old, it still has many customers. This class reunion will be held here. In the supreme luxury box on the second floor. A group of middle-aged men and women were chatting and laughing in groups of 2 or 3. Some of them sat at the table, smoking and talking, some drank tea on the sofa, and some played poker and communicated. Men are asking each other about their relationships and comparing with each other. Xiangzi, you are doing very well. I heard that you have become a manager. No, I just want to make a living. Wouldn't it be better if you worked in a bank? You can get a guaranteed income and get more pay. I can't do it. The salary is so low, and the people I support are lazy. I'm 1.75 meters tall and weigh 180 kilograms now. This is called a rich belly, it only comes from a good life. That's right. Our students in class 3 are the most promising and are all doing very well. Zhao Wei, this is not okay. You have worked for so many years to become a senior executive. That's right, this career isn't top-notch, but my brain is pretty bright. Har ha har ha har ha, you have the least hair among our group. You must get a hair transplant. You are sensible. This is called being extremely smart. Zhao Wei, a middle-aged man with a greasy face, tried to save face, you and I are both almost 40 years old, and we are definitely not as good as before. That's right. In the past, I could pee 800 miles into the wind, but now I pee on myself when the wind blows. When we reach middle age, what we compete with is our economic strength. Who do you think is doing the best after graduating for more than 10 years? Let's talk about Yifei. He is a second-generation rich man. He has a higher starting point than us and has already started a company. I've heard that there are angel investors looking for him. No, it must be Wen Siming. He is married to the daughter of the chairman of Tinghin International, a leading company in the lock manufacturing industry. I think Chen Zikai has the best future. His mobile virtual project is the future trend, and I heard that the country is supporting this industry. I think it was him, too. You know what? I ran into him at the China World Trade Center a few days ago. Guess what? Don't keep me in suspense. Just tell me now. I saw he changed his car again, a Porsche Cayenne.